Oh, you're out of tune.
Yeah, but I'm not. I'm more of a solo artist.
Daddy, I'm just noticing something. I noticed. I look at you.
What
I'm not
is it
gonna,
this
no,
time?
yours fine. No, to be honest, right? This is the truth, right? Do you mind that your top, right?
The granddad top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt bad about that.
Did
Sure.
you get any abuse for?
No, but I abused
You
myself
should've.
in my own head. I said I shouldn't have been. That was very hateful. Do you know? But I
Well, it
noticed.
wasn't hateful.
No, but it wasn't. It wasn't a nice thing to say. Was it?
No, it wasn't bad.
No, but it wasn't nice.
It was okay. It was
But
true.
see your
I'll never
beard.
wear it again.
Your beard, right? It's very gingery looking this morning. You must put a wee colour through that, do you? Tell the truth.
don't.
You do. It looks browner.
don't, no,
it does
it's
now,
not
Greg.
nature.
Caroline Orr, I would love Caroline Orr to come in here now.
Well, I can swear in my life.
It looks brown. Maybe it needs washed or
It's
something.
the sun.
Is it? We haven't had much
Sun,
of that.
breakfast, and stress.
Ah, no, come on. Stop
Yeah,
it.
it is good.
Behave
You
yourself.
don't
I'm
you
away
worry
now.
about it. Don't you worry about
I'd be talking to myself. I shouldn't have mentioned about your beard now. Brown looking.
You don't have a filter, Lisa. There's no point changing you now at this stage, is there?
Okay, then. Just need to be
Go
careful.
on, you just be you. All right, then it is 9 o'clock. It's time for news update. It's over to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Gardaí and Motorsport Ireland are conducting two separate investigations into the death of two men during the Sligo Stages rally. The men who were participating in the event were killed instantly when their rally car hit a wall in Ballymote at around 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. The bodies of the driver in his 30s and passenger in his 40s were later removed to Sligo University Hospital, where post-mortems will take place today. Gardaí are asking that footage of the collision is not shared across social media or messaging apps. Sligo-based journalist Saoirse Crowley says both men were well known in rallying circles.
The driver was from County Cavan, a man in his 30s, and his co-pilot was a man from Fermanagh in his 40s, both married with families, very experienced in the rallying for years, if not decades, and they would have been known the length and breadth of the country.
A meeting is due to get underway in the Chamber County House Lifford between members of Donegal County Council and Donegal's 5 TDs in around a half hour's time. It is to discuss the national policy which restricts access on the N56. Cahirlock of Glenties Municipal District says young people are emigrating from West Donegal because they can't build close to home. Councillor Michael McClafferty added that county councillors do not have the power to challenge this and hopes TDs will raise it in the Dáil.
It's a national planning framework as such. It's there, it has to change. So that's what we're hoping this morning, to get our 5 TDs into the room there this morning at 9:30 as arranged, and we can obviously put our views across to them. They're well aware of it anyway, but we want to put our views across to them as a council as such, and see then can they get this into the Dáil, get it raised in the Dáil, because I firmly believe that if this was down Kerry or elsewhere, we wouldn't be having this problem, to be quite honest with you. And it's once again, it's Donegal just seems to get the hammering all the time, no matter how it is, Donegal gets it.
Ireland's budget watchdog is calling for the government to set aside windfall taxes to pay for future pensions. The amount of money spent in the state pension has grown by 50% in the last decade. The Irish Fiscal Advisory Council insists the state should plan now to meet increasing pension costs in the years ahead. The IFAC's chair, Michael McMahon, says it's time to build up savings to meet spending needs.
Taking some of the windfall corporation tax that Ireland's very lucky to be receiving at the moment, and it gives a great opportunity to start building up a savings vehicle, which the government has said they intend on doing. But we would like to see it set aside for the pension costs.
Looking now to weather, today is going to have some sunny spells and scattered showers. Highs of 15 to 18 degrees in light, occasionally moderate westerly breezes. That's all for now. We'll be back again with the next news update at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Julia, thanks for waiting there, because I'm back with a banger of a car and home insurance quote for you. Jules, my sis lives near you and the potholes are a nightmare. They just are.
Why is it so hard to get a good deal on simple car or home insurance?
Well, getting a quote from An Post Insurance is never this hard. For car and home insurance that's a little more human, call 0818 22 2222 or visit onpostinsurance.ie.
You feel me on the potholes, Jules, yeah?
Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. One Direct Ireland Limited trading as An Post Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. One Direct Ireland Limited is a wholly owned subsidiary of An Post. Home insurance underwritten by Aviva Insurance Ireland DAC. Best prices online.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest, The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning to you. Just turning 4 minutes past 9 on this Monday, the 17th of July, 2023, and we've all made it into another week. How are you keeping? I hope you had a lovely weekend and are all fresh and ready to go for a new week. Or perhaps you worked all weekend and today's your day off. Whichever way, I hope you have a lovely one, and I hope you keep it here with us on Highland Radio on the 9 till Noon Show. Over the next 3 hours, a whole range of stuff, hopefully to keep you entertained and informed. The lines are open for you right now. If there's anything you wish to comment on, any issues you wish to raise, any information you want to pass on, maybe something positive happened with you, where you had a positive experience. We love that stuff too, don't you know? 086 60 25,000, that's the WhatsApp number. If you're listening outside the Republic, 00353 87 60 25,000, 86 60 25,000. If you want to give us a call, 07491 25,000. Again, from outside the Republic, 00353 7491 25,000. And comments via email from anywhere, of course, comments at highlandradio.com. Lovely, seemingly nice day out there today. The weather forecast all over the place lately, it seems. Yesterday was supposed to be a washout. Turned out really quite a nice day. Today was supposed to be a washout. It doesn't seem too bad. Tomorrow was supposed to be a good day. Now there's rain being forecast, and that's us in our part of the world. But maybe you're listening where there is extreme heat at the moment, be it particularly in America, Southern Europe. Some of the temperatures being witnessed there are really, really high, and it's all right, I suppose, if you're healthy and, you know, a young adult or middle-aged. But, of course, if you're very young or the older you get, it's hard for the body to regulate your temperature as well. So those extreme heats are a big issue. But maybe you are listening from one of those places. Get in touch with us and let us know what it's like, what you're experiencing. All right, okay, let's get on with a look at the front of the newspapers. We'll start with the Derry People Donegal News, and an inspection is set to be carried out at Cassidy's Quarry as part of court action into the defective concrete block scandal. As part of the Coleman Legal High Court action, it's been revealed that experts intend to inspect the quarry in the coming weeks. Providing an update to the affected homeowners, Coleman Legal issued an update which said as part of the court timetable they're arranging an inspection at Cassidy's Quarry. We have been in negotiations for many months now in relation to access and the method that will be used to sample and test the rock in the quarry itself. We expect that this will take place in the coming weeks, explained the statement. Coleman Legal are also in the process of agreeing a comprehensive set of tests to be carried out on each of the lead plaintiffs' homes, also due to begin in the next few weeks, starting with one of the lead cases. On to the Derry News this morning, and a proposal to confer the freedom of the city and district on Derry victims campaigner John McCourt will be considered at the next full meeting of Derry City and Strabane District Council. Mr McCourt is a well-known advocate for victims and survivors of historical institutional abuse. The motion to grant him the freedom of the city and district will be proposed by Councillor Sean Harkin of People Before Profit. On to the Nationals now, and pictures from the semi-finals yesterday. Yesterday's semi-final. Kerry player Tyg Morley and Paddy Clifford celebrate after their side's victory over Derry in the GEA Football All-Ireland Senior Football Final. We'll be talking about the outcome of that game and Saturday's semi-final too, I'm sure, when we have a quick chat with Brendan Devaney, or not a quick chat, a chat with him after 11 o'clock, previewing the DL debate. Also, heartbreak for the Donegal ladies as well. They fell behind early on and struggled to claw it back, I think. So disappointing for Ulster teams, but they've got what they want in terms of the men's senior game. They've got that Derry, Donegal, Dublin Kerry final, though Derry was so close, perhaps should have got it over the line. What do you think? We can talk about that later on, as I say. But their main news story is a one-off double payment of child benefit for parents is under consideration as part of government negotiations ahead of the budget. With talks set to intensify after the summer recess, the coalition has also agreed to increase state-funded parental leave by another 2 weeks, meaning parents will be able to take up to 9 weeks off work after their children are born. Central to the high high-level budget talks are discussions around another double payment of child benefit to help families with the cost of raising children. If agreed, it'll see 638,000 families receive a one-off payment of €280 instead of the usual €140 child benefit rate. What do you think of that proposal? I mean, at this time of the year, there are papers, of course, that would be friendly to government parties. There's a bit of kite flying to see which way the wind is blowing in terms of, would this be well received and what have you. It is a payment that goes out to everyone. There's an awful lot of people in receipt of child benefit. Some might argue that perhaps don't need it, and a more targeted approach to help those that genuinely need it might be better. I don't know. Maybe the universal payment is the way forward. And also, I'm sure there'll be a broad welcome to parental leave, paid parental leave being extended by 2 weeks. But a lot of people would say, yeah, that's great. But when we go back to work, can you help us with the childcare, please? Because some of us can't go back to work because we can't access or afford childcare. Anyway, that is the story on the front of the Indo. What do you think about that? The Irish Times, another story here relating to children. This is very upsetting. An unprecedented crisis in services for the most at-risk children in the state is leading to a likelihood of claims against the state, a retired judge has warned. Former Dublin and Metropolitan District Court Judge Dermot Sims says up to 130 highly vulnerable children are in unsuitable and unapproved placements such as holiday centres, hotels and B&Bs because there is nowhere else to put them. He says systemic failures across TUSLA, the Garda, the Department of Education, the HSE and the prison service are undoing, undermining and frustrating the best efforts of frontline social workers to comply with regulations and protocols. In a strongly worded letter to 4 government ministers, TUSLA, the State Claims Agency and the Ombudsman for Children, and dated May 17th, 2023, when he was still on the bench, former Judge Sims says he has utmost concern for the immediate predicament and welfare of children in the care of the state. So these are children that, of course, are already have had very negative experiences. They're taken into the care of the state, and we have a judge saying there that he's concerned at that treatment. Very sad news as well in the Irish Daily Mail today and across most of the papers of a very sad loss for the world of rallying, but also, of course, for families and friends primarily. 2 rally competitors were killed in a crash while taking part in the Sligo Stages rally yesterday. It's understood that car 155, which was driven by Jean MacDonald from Cootehill, County Cavan, with race colleague Dara Maguire from neighbouring Fermanagh, was involved in a collision. Gardaí are investigating following the fatal road collision that occurred during stage 6 of the race in Ballymote. As a result of the collision, the organisers halted the event. Rally organisers Connacht Motor Club said in a statement, Connacht Motor Club can confirm that an incident occurred on the Sligo Stages rally. Motorsport Ireland said Motorsport Ireland extends its deepest sympathies to the families and friends and the 2 competitors who were fatally injured during a tragic accident while competing on the 6th stage of the 2023 Sligo Stages rally. And of course, our thoughts immediately with the family and friends of the 2 deceased, but also the rallying world is a small one. And I'm sure it's a loss that's being felt right across and up and down our island. On to the Irish Daily Star now, and 59 Gardaí have resigned so far this year, while a further 150 have retired, Justice Minister Helen McEntee revealed. She gave no reason as to why the Gardaí quit, but said an exit interview exit interviews are now being held for the first time ever to find out why, which is something I would have thought should have been standard. You're seeing a mass exodus, if you could describe it as that, from any organisation that's state-funded. You want to know why. But now they're starting to conduct exit interviews, which I think will be very useful information. Another 100 members resigned last year, 1% of the total number in the organisation, but the minister conceded that the police have been hit with an increased number of retirements. There are currently 13,927 in the Gardaí, about 1,000 officers short of the staffing levels the government and the Garda Commissioner Drew Harris have agreed. Minister McEntee has also failed to meet her target of training 200 recruits at the Garda's Templemore College every couple of months. She confirmed 92 recruits entered Templemore in late November, 135 in February and another 154 in May. And I think they've spent 4 million or are spending 4 million in an effort to recruit Gardaí, but the numbers interested simply aren't there, it would seem. On to The Sun this morning, and Tusla's boss has admitted the Children and Families Agency is now at crisis point. CEO Kate Duggan said there are concerns over kids in care, staffing issues and possible legal challenges coming down the tracks. And this is off the back, as I say, of that article I read in another paper, comments from former Judge Sims. But elsewhere, 13 human skulls that were stolen by academics more than 100 years ago are returning to Inishbofin. A reburial ceremony was held on the island off the west coast yesterday. The bones, thought to be around 400 years old, were swiped in the middle of the night from a monastery by two academics and kept at Trinity College Dublin. The uni agreed to return the skulls as part of a review of legacy issues. They were brought back on Saturday. Inishbofin historian Marie Coyne, who campaigned to get them back, said, "I just feel so relieved and I'm so glad they are back." Indeed, and that wrong has, albeit over 100 years later, been undone. And just many papers featuring the weather story. And this is in the Irish Daily Mirror. Irish holidaymakers heading off to the sun are being advised of the dangers of blistering heat that has swept Europe. Weather forecasters have warned Irish people travelling to the holiday hotspots in Spain, Italy and Greece to avoid the midday sun. Temperatures across southern Europe have reached more than 40 degrees Celsius. Hot, hot, hot. OK. We'll be back with more in the 9 till noon show after this quick break. Stay where you are.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the C-Store National Large Forecourt of the Year for 2022.
Beggs & Partners are a specialist local plumbing, heating and bathroom supplier. Established in Belfast 1960, we now have 12 branches and are known for quality, value and reliability. Our latest branch in Springtown Drive, Buncrana Road, Derry includes a beautiful bathroom showroom as well as a fully stocked plumbing and heating trade sales counter. Delivery service available. See beggsandpartners.com.
Come along to the Glencolumkill Agricultural Show on Sunday the 6th of August, featuring cattle, sheep, horses, poultry and all marquee classes. A great family day with children's fun and live music. Entries open on glencolumkillagriculturalshow.ie or visit our Facebook page.
I've just had the Eclipse Cinemas experience. Wow, they truly have taken a night at the movies to a whole new level. Amazing recliner chairs, director's lounge VIP rooms, pizza and hot food served to your seat. Have a glass of wine and enjoy the film on the big screen. Try it for yourself at Eclipse Cinemas Bundoran and Lifford Strabane, where the stars shine brighter. By the way, the pizzas are amazing. You can book your seat anytime at eclipsecinemas.ie.
Enhance your skills with SafeTech's part-funded training programs. At SafeTech, we provide courses including first aid, roadworks, people moving and handling, confined spaces, electrofusion and machinery training for Ireland and UK sites. Also online programs such as water hygiene, construction supervisors, safety reps and much more. If you have a group for training, SafeTech will go to you. Contact SafeTech today at safetech.ie and take the first step towards upskilling and safety compliance.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at
17 minutes past 9. Now, as we mentioned a little earlier, 2 separate investigations have been launched into the deaths of 2 men following a collision during this year's Sligo Stages rally in County Sligo yesterday afternoon. The driver, who was in his 30s, and the co-driver, who was in his 40s, both died after their car hit a wall during the 6th stage of the rally. Art McCarrick is Motorsport Ireland sporting manager. Thanks for joining us on a very difficult day, obviously, for the families and friends of the deceased, but the world of motorsport too as well, Art. It's an incredibly sad, very sad situation, isn't it?
Yeah, but absolutely. You know, we're a big sport, but a small community, and our thoughts, absolutely, and prayers remain with the family and friends of the deceased and those who assisted at the scene of the accident yesterday in very difficult circumstances, as well as the event organisers. It's extremely difficult on them as well. So it's a dark day for our sport for sure.
It really is, and we know ourselves hosting rallies here that every effort is made to just make it as safe as possible in terms of the organisation, the equipment, the safety side of things, but it is also a dangerous sport.
Look at, yes, accidents and fatal accidents can happen in any sport, but tragically it was our sport yesterday, and obviously, yes, our safety standards are extremely high and would be recognised as such, but we can put all the safety measures in place, and unfortunately the most vulnerable part of any vehicle are the occupants, and such was the nature of the accident yesterday that both the driver and the co-driver in the car tragically lost their lives at the scene of the accident.
And as we would expect, this is going to be investigated. I mentioned there are 2 investigations taking place, and we can't, or neither would we want to preempt that, but do we know what happened?
We don't really. Just a little bit of background. The event was round 5 of the Motorsport Ireland National Rally Championship, and each event in that championship would run to the same format, 3 stages repeated 3 times. So 1, 2 and 3 would be repeated as 4, 5 and 6, and then they would be repeated again in the evening as 7, 8 and 9. So this stage had run in the morning as stage 3 without incident, and the incident where the both crew members were killed happened on stage 6, the second running of the stage over this bit of road. There had been no noticeable incidents the first time through, and just before 3 p.m. their car left the road. We don't yet know exactly the reasons why, but collided with a wall, and our serious incident protocol was activated almost straight away, and we got emergency services and rescue teams and first responders to the scene as quickly as possible, as well as the following competitors who had arrived on the scene just 30 seconds after it happened, and they all did everything they could, but tragically it wasn't enough.
Indeed, and it is a loss that will be felt very far and wide, as you mentioned, and thinking on those that respond to or come on that scene as well, difficult for them, incredibly difficult, because as you say, it's a small community. Unfortunately, the times we live in now, we've had to hear appeals from Gardaí for people who have footage of this collision not to share it, and we would hope people would understand the reasons why, but nonetheless, Gardaí, and I'm sure you're joining in that, out of respect for everyone involved here, that not to be forwarding on any video footage of this incident that might be out there.
Yeah, we don't believe there is much. There was very little spectator access to where it happened, but we do believe there may be footage circulating from a drone above the accident site. And we would urge anyone who sees, receives, or gets those images to report them, to request for them to be removed off the platform they're on, but also to inform both ourselves, Motorsport Ireland and An Garda Síochána, of those, and we can possibly trace the source of them. And it's basically twofold. We're trying not to make a bad and difficult situation for family members worse. And we're also trying to build a bank of material to assist us with our investigations. So I would like to think most reasonable, well-minded people wouldn't be sharing such images. But as you say, in the times we're in, unfortunately, we have to issue reminders like that.
I mean, obviously, today's not the day really to discuss things like this, but this is a major incident at a rally. It is not the first, and we know the challenges in getting these events on between insurance and what have you. Does this raise questions about future events going forward, Art, at this time?
I don't believe so. There certainly won't be a knee-jerk reaction from our side on that until the investigations are completed. Currently, our plans are to run the remainder of our calendar we're quite a broad governing body in that rallying is one of 11 disciplines we govern, with 32 clubs across 26 counties that run approximately 160 events in a calendar year. So currently the plans are to continue to run the remainder of our events. If clubs feel they no longer wish to run events, that's a decision for them, and that will be taken in conjunction with us. We'll have to work with them, but at the moment there'll be no knee-jerk reaction in terms of impacts to our future events, and we'll wait until both our investigations and On Garda Síochána's investigation, which we're actively cooperating with, are complete before we issue any recommendations on that front. Like I say, the event would have had a very comprehensive safety plan, an appointed safety delegate. Accidents can and do happen, and tragically it would seem like it was just a normal accident that went very wrong, and not every accident can be prevented, but tragically days like today you wish it could.
Yeah, indeed, we agree. Okay, Art, thanks so much for your time, and thanks for speaking to us on this difficult morning. We do appreciate it. That's Art McCarrick, Motorsport Ireland sporting manager, and that was just one of a number of tragic instances on our roads over the weekend, very, very sadly indeed. Right, okay. We're going to be joined by our next guest on the programme after this short break. Stay where you are.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Are you tired of hiding your smile? It's time to regain your confidence at Blue Poppy Orthodontics. We offer a range of solutions from Invisalign and regular braces to general dentistry, teeth whitening, implants and composite bonding. And now some exciting news. At Blue Poppy, your Invisalign clear brace is now available for the same price as conventional braces and includes an attractive repayment plan. Take the first step with Blue Poppy Orthodontics, Letterkenny and Donegal Town. Call 074 97 40404.
Planning on renovating your garden this summer? Then look no further than Daleside Garden Furniture. With a full range of sizes and garden sheds, wooden and steel, summer houses, playhouses, outdoor canopies, fencing and much more. Find us on social media. Made to measure and one-off designs are our speciality. Call today on 087 112 4766.
Milford Tiles, Wood Flooring and Bathware, Milford Retail Park. New wood flooring just arrived. Itmal AC laminate, $9.99 a square yard. 10 mil, $12.50 a square yard. 12 mil, $14.99 a square yard. Beautiful Itmal AC4 gloss laminate, $16.99 a square yard. All in stock, fitters available. Milford Tiles, Wood Flooring and Bathware, 083 091 0707.
An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Yes, but a Joy apple keeps the sadness away. Crunchy, juicy with a hint of acidity. Get some Joya in your favourite store. Eat Joya, taste the joy. And with the Joya contest, you can win an electric car.
With 232 underway, it's not too late to secure your new Nissan. With the all-electric Leaf, the petrol and hybrid Juke, the new X-Trail available in a 5 or 7-seater 4-wheel drive e-Power hybrid, and the Nissan Qashqai petrol and e-Power hybrid, all available for immediate delivery. Visit iMotors in Letterkenny to find out more. Open 6 days a week.
Right, it's feared the highest temperatures ever recorded in Europe could be broken this week. A prolonged area of high pressure has been trapped over the south of the continent, which may lead to the 48.8 degrees measured in Sicily in 2021 being exceeded. Meanwhile, over 11,000 acres are now known to have been affected by huge wildfires on the Spanish island of La Palma. Around 4,000 residents have been evacuated. A third of the population of the United States is living under a heat warning. In Phoenix, it's been above 43 for 16 days in a row, and it's expected to get even hotter. And in China, it recorded its hottest ever temperature over the weekend, 52.2 degrees Celsius. Professor John Sweeney, climatologist and Professor Emeritus of Geography at Maynooth University, joins us. And these are a series of events, Professor, that one simply can't ignore. How much of this is to do with the rate of global warming we've been seeing since probably the early 1990s, and how much of this is the El Nino effect?
Well, I think it's quite clear that what we're seeing at the moment is primarily driven by the rate of change of global climate. El Nino, as yet, is only just getting underway in the Pacific. So I don't think it's the factor that's causing this particular sequence of heat waves. Instead, what we're seeing, I think, is a sort of dislocation of the jet stream around the world, where we're getting simultaneous extreme events occurring in many of the places that you mentioned. And this is only to be expected. I think it's not surprising that we're seeing those extremes reaching new levels because, if you like, climate change puts ordinary weather on steroids, so to speak. So we know that in particular in Europe, we've warmed by 2.3 degrees already since pre-industrial times, and we are the fastest warming continent on the planet at the moment. So we're seeing particularly severe conditions today and this week around the Mediterranean. And unfortunately, I think, that kind of anticyclone, once established, the heat dome that results tends to linger for several days. So we're seeing, if you like, almost static weather conditions in many parts of the world. And unfortunately, if you're on the wrong side of the jet stream axis at that time, then you're liable to suffer for some considerable number of days.
All right, so people will look out the window and they'll say, what are you climate change, what are you on about? Look at the weather. So explain to us the difference between the weather and the climate, because often people will quote what's happening in one day as some sort of a counterpoint as to what you're concerned about.
Well, weather is what we expect to get on a day-to-day basis. Climate, of course, is the longer-term changes in the average conditions that occur as a consequence of changing the rules of the game. And in this case, the rules of the game are the trapping effect of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. And if you take Ireland, for example, we know it's warmed by between 0.5 and 1 degree over the past century, much of it in the past 30 years or so. And we know that we're getting more extreme rainfall. We're getting longer periods of drought than we have experienced for some time. And this is why we have to make a distinction between what we're seeing over the past week, especially in Donegal, where you've had unrelenting rain almost for the past week, and what we expect to see happening on an average basis, which will affect our food production, our agriculture, our tourism, and so on. So I think what we're seeing, especially at the moment, is that the jet stream has taken up position right across Ireland. And this is bringing the sequence of depressions, especially to places like Donegal, which is so unwelcome at this time of the year. But at the same time, it's encouraging air to be drawn out of North Africa to help sustain that huge anticyclone over the Mediterranean. So these are things which are unusual in the longer context of things, but they are, of course, unwelcome if you're on the wrong side of the jet stream axis in each case.
Is the rate of change in any way surprising? I mean, obviously, this is what people are being warned of. And I'm fully aware, by the way, as we talk about this, there are people listening who will that don't believe that climate change is a thing, that this is just the weather of the world changing. And at one stage we were under ice, and I get that and I understand that. But from a scientific point of view, what's happening now was being flagged to us for quite some time. But are we getting there quicker than anticipated?
Yes, I think, firstly, to say that climate change is not a matter of belief, that really is an outdated concept. You can't argue with mercury in the thermometer. And if you do, you should perhaps be considering joining the Flat Earth Society at this stage. But secondly, yes, you're right. I think it's true that models are quite conservative in how they project change. They don't capture the real extremes changes that occur in small local areas, they don't capture, I suppose, the rapidity of those extremes very well in terms of the frequency of how they change. So I think we have been caught a little unawares in the past few years by the extent to which those extremes have occurred more quickly and with greater intensity than perhaps some of the models have been projecting. But it's quite clear that we do face increasing heat waves, increasing floods, increasing frequencies and intensities of those events as time proceeds. And that is something which the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change have confirmed over many years now, and which, unfortunately, our policymakers are not really reacting to sufficiently to protect us and to give us assurances that in the future these kinds of things will not become more frequent and more severe.
And if they do, and if they get locked in, it's inevitable, is it not, that we will see, particularly to our part of the world, climate migration? Because, you know, if we start seeing consistently warm weather in the south of Europe or further south for that matter, people will start moving to areas where the climate is more habitable, which would be, you know, probably across where we are and across Europe at the same sort of distance from the equator, or whatever the measurement might be there.
Yes, I think there are a few key areas of concern here. The first, of course, are people that we already are familiar with who can't make a living in the sub-Saharan areas of Africa, who simply are living on the margins of existence and do seek an alternative, more viable existence further north. The second, I think, are in the areas of the tropical oceans, where low-lying islands will be submerged and cultures will be lost over time. They will also have to move out of necessity to other areas. And thirdly, of course, the big deltas of the world, like the Ganges Delta, like the Nile Delta, which will be subsiding as time goes on, as well as sea level rising. And they will move. And here we're talking about very large population movements indeed. We're not talking about a few 100,000. We're talking about millions of people being displaced by climate, becoming climate refugees.
They have to survive.
And seeking areas like Ireland, seeking areas like Northern Europe, simply to exist. And that's the prospect that faces places like here in Ireland in the years ahead.
I won't keep you very much longer, but just a couple of key points. We got information recently that showed that we're miles off from achieving our goals. I think we saw a 2% reduction in emissions here. We've chewed through half of our carbon budget, 5-year carbon budget in 2 years. So to actually even meet the targets that we've set, I think it's 12% reductions over the next 3 years, which is unattainable, really. We're moving to electric vehicles, but we need more electricity, and we're still making that the old-fashioned way to a great extent. And we still, at the end of the day, have 2 million cars on the roads, regardless of what fuel. And then there's the ongoing debate over farming. And then we have the data centres, which are consuming mass amounts of electricity. There's a lot going on there, and a lot of problems to fix in this country before maybe I might ask you about the global situation. But there are calls also for Eamon Ryan to be brought before an Oireachtas committee to ask straight out, you know, what is the government going to do about all of this?
Well, I think firstly, any reduction is at least heading in the right direction. But however small it is, it's simply insufficient, as you say, to meet our obligations, both in terms of what we've committed to at a European scale, but also what we've committed to under the legislation of the Climate Act of 2021. Yes, we do need to start reducing very much more radically our emissions. Now, we can do this in two ways. We can do it by following the kind of recommendations that we're seeing at the moment from the Climate Action Plan in a much more diligent way, or we can face ruthless regulation down the road. And so there's no point.
Can I just make one little point on the ruthless regulation? And this is the problem with buy-in from the public, because in our homes, we are using less electricity and what have you. Now, some of that's going to be driven by the rising costs. Some of it's going to be us doing the right thing. But in terms of household electricity usage, it's really dropped quite a lot. But at the same time, then, we have other areas of society which the government endorses, for example, data centres. I'm not anti-data centre, don't get me wrong, which is now eating 16% of our electricity, and that has doubled in a few short years. So the hard work of the public, motivated perhaps by saving money, but be that as it may, in reducing their electricity consumption, is more than offset by government-backed industry that is using tons and tons of electricity. See, and I think that's where the public sort of starts saying, well, all right, we did start doing our bit, but things aren't making sense. And when things don't make sense, you don't get the buy-in.
Yes, I agree completely. I mean, the data center issue is one which should have been tackled in a much more robust way. I'm horrified that data centers are now building gas-fired power plants to power their own operations if they get excluded from the electricity grid. So yes, it does demoralize the public to see that kind of thing happening. But we also have to remember that, 40% of our emissions now come from agriculture, and the ability to persuade the agricultural sector to take radical steps is also failing quite miserably. And I think we have to acknowledge that too. And we are wedded to our cars. Our emissions went up 6% from transport last year. So yes, I mean, we are doing things in our homes, and I think we're doing great things with solar panels, by becoming more energy efficient in our homes, but that is only a small part of the problem, and we really have to do more at a national level. Now, I take your point completely. We shouldn't be blaming individuals for this problem. We do need leadership from the political system. We need buy-in from the public to encourage the progressive political leaders that we have in some cases to actually get through the measures which will tackle this problem. And, we can point the finger at individuals quite readily. We can demonize individuals for not doing enough. But unless we actually give them the support they need to take those radical decisions, then we're actually not going to achieve what we have to achieve in this area.
All right, and finally, this is not a counterpoint to us having to do our thing. I think most people realise that we should. But we do have a war raging in the east of Europe. God knows the consequences of that, not just for the immediate loss of life, but for the environment. We have China building more coal-fired stations to provide electricity. Thankfully, it seems that the relations between America and China are warming a little, because we do need the big players to make the big changes. But again, people go, and we will not get into this because I think the argument's well rehearsed about Little Old Island, what difference does it make? But I accept we do have to do our bit. But we do need, for this to work, we do need the big players to really say, right, we actually have to do something, because the future of civilization's at risk here.
You're right. I mean, without bringing the big players on board, the efforts of the small countries will amount to naught in the end of the day. We in Ireland, though, can't point the finger at other countries as an excuse for our inaction, because we emit 50% more greenhouse gases per capita than our partners in Europe. But I think that's why international cooperation is so essential. It's been very disappointing the last 20 years with the COP process failing really miserably to get that kind of international cooperation going. And unfortunately, it doesn't look very good for the next few years that we will get the kind of commitments necessary. But there is no alternative, sadly, to actually tackling the problem from an international scale, because countries will always act in their own self-interest unless they are compelled to do otherwise. And that's why we do have to support the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. We do have to, even though we recognise its failings, do our best to get things done at an international level in a cross-national basis. Otherwise, we're all sunk.
All right, Professor, thank you for your time this morning. I do appreciate it. Professor John Sweeney, climatologist and Professor Emeritus of Geography at Maynooth University. And again, you see, this is part of the problem, and I accept and I understand it. I find it difficult to make the small changes I'm expected to when the heads of governments are flying in their aeroplanes, in some cases bringing 5 or 6 armoured vehicles with them to go and discuss why us small fry should be, living in the dark effectively and freezing to death. And they don't get it on a global stage. Why should we inconvenience ourselves so much when the people are telling us to do it are flying around the world in their jets, looking down their noses at us? And I think until they get all that sorted, they're really going to struggle to get buy-in.
The Big Band Country Nights at Logues of Cranford continue this Tuesday with Olivia Douglas and her band. That's another Big Band Country Night this Tuesday with Olivia Douglas at Logues of Cranford, where you will also find music in the wee bar on Saturdays and old-time dancing on Sundays.
Homeowners, it's time to unlock incredible savings on your energy bills. Efficient Renewables is here to reduce your energy consumption, say goodbye to skyrocketing costs and hello to renewable energy solutions. With no VAT on solar panels and the generous grants for both solar panels and heat pumps, see these innovative systems in action in our state-of-the-art showroom in Newton Cunningham today. Contact Efficient Renewables on 074 97 08320.
Dreaming of a getaway this summer? There's still time to book with TUI, flying from Dublin, Cork and Shannon airports. Summer, best enjoyed on holiday. TUI, live happy.
Bingo every Monday night at the Halfway House Burnfoot. Doors open 7:30 with ice down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. Snowball is now €1,100 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo tonight at 8:30.
Hi folks, Paul McDevitt here, inviting you to join me this Monday night for another edition of the Monday Night Sessions, and have we a jam-packed show for you. Aslan are set to release their last studio recording with lead singer Christy Dignam as a tribute to their late friend. I'll be joined by Billy McGuinness from the band to tell me all about it. And from County Meath, we welcome the Scobes. Todd Oliver will be dropping in for a chat and a few songs, and we also welcome from Israel, the Doris. And to finish it all off, we welcome back the brilliant Midnight Preachers. So that's the Monday Night Sessions this Monday night between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. right here on Highland Radio.
Okay. Hi, Greg. Photovoltaic panels on houses which turn sunlight and even daylight into electricity are very common. So why haven't the car manufacturers installed panels which would be moulded onto the car roof, onto new EV cars? Surely this, coupled with the self-charging or house-charging vehicles, would be welcome. I'm not really quite sure if the the space is there to charge in a meaningful way, but I suppose why not? What about the large bonfires in Northern Ireland for the 12th celebrations? I'm sure they are affecting global warming, but nothing is said about that. I think we did mention it, or did I? I was having a conversation with someone. Was it on air or off air? A caller says, we only have ourselves to blame because we buy cheap, quick, easy Chinese-made goods, which is just adding to the problems of climate change, believes the listener there. RTE spent €26,000 for 6 people in a hotel in Madrid, Spain, for 6 people for 2 nights for the Champions League in 2019 from the secret barter account, indeed. That's been well rehearsed at this stage. Hi, I was on Marble Hill Beach yesterday and dogs were roaming everywhere, some on leash and some without leash. I was under the impression that dogs were prohibited from blue flag beaches from 11 a.m. until 7 a.m. I'm afraid of dogs and I like to have a peaceful walk, but it's very upsetting that I could go or couldn't go anywhere on the beach without dogs around me. I wonder, could you get some guards on your show to explain why this law is not enforced as it is severely exploited? We might just double check those rules and where they apply to, if that's all right. No, just and just maybe have a wee chat about that. Right, okay. Now, Councillor Kevin Bradley, Mayor of Letterkenny, joins us on the programme now. Good morning, Kevin. Thanks for your time today.
Morning, Greg. How are you doing?
Good. And good to have you with us. Right, a major conference in relation to derelict buildings in Donegal's being held in Letterkenny this coming Friday. A significant chat this is. Talk to us about how this came about and what's going to be discussed.
I'm delighted to see this coming. They wired 4 million there to regenerate Letterkenny. The URDF call 3 to do up parts. Hopefully we get a bus hub and get things moving. But that town centre needs a lot of work. Delighted to see it coming, Greg.
And there is a serious issue with dereliction. There's more derelict houses and properties than would, almost meet our needs if they were brought back into use, particularly as residential. But I mean, we're talking presumably here about residential commercial mix.
Residential and commercial mix is right, Greg. The whole way down the bottom of that town centre and on down there, Greg. There are a lot of stuff sitting empty and been sitting for years, and nobody able to do anything with it now. You got off a bus down at the station house and walked up, it's a complete different town,
And we've been talking about this for some time. There needs to be a proper plan, doesn't there? I mean, as you mentioned, there's a major investment in Letterkenny plan, but the future of the bottom of the town, so to speak, probably needs particular attention.
It does surely, Gordon, needs particular attention. There's stuff there and different people sitting on their hands there. This has been on. Every council's brought these motions in. Ourselves and the planners walked the town one day. We done a whole way around the town, and they looked what was lying vacant. It would take up some property in this town. It would be great to see it going again.
Yeah, and it's interesting that this event coming up on Friday is organised by the Cathedral Quarter Group. We know their interests in that part of the town, and also Letterkenny Tidy Towns.
Yeah, the whole lot doing a great job. And you look at the Cathedral Quarter with the whole thing brought back into this town centre, bringing the town alive. It's a great job. It's great to see it, Greg.
Yeah, you'd encourage people to attend, I'm sure.
I would hope to see everybody there, Greg. Everybody is on others.
All right,
and others just to come out and see what's going on.
Yeah, for sure. It's this coming Friday in the Station House Hotel, so it is down in that part of the town as well.
Yeah, Station House Friday morning. 10 o'clock.
Okay. All right, and do you have an idea of what the way it's going to go in terms of, Kevin, other presentations, facts and figures?
There's going to be presentations Saturday, but it's there for everybody's view, what they would like to see happening, where they'd like to see this going, one thing or another,
Yeah, there's a local historian, Kieran Kelly. He's going to give a tour of Lower Main Street on Thursday evening, talking about the history. That starts at the Market Square at 7 p.m. and finishes at the Station House. That's at 7 on the Thursday. Then the conference gets underway on Friday. Registration open from 9:30 a.m. There'll be a welcoming to the delegates by yourself, of course, the Mayor, Kevin Bradley. That's at 10 a.m. before it will be officially be opened by Green Party Chair and Senator Pauline O'Reilly. As I mentioned, the first part of the conference is looking at dereliction in Donegal and Northern Ireland, and it is a broader conversation as well, because as I mentioned, I think there's 8,000 vacant homes in Donegal. That's about 10% of the overall housing stock. We need to stop talking about this and start sorting this out, don't we? We would hope the recent grant allocations might help in that regard, Kevin, but something really needs to be done.
But this is after the start. We have to start somewhere. Well, this 4 million is going to put the whole thing rocking on our own. It's good to see it going, Greg.
Yeah, indeed. All right, Kevin, listen, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. That is Councillor Kevin Bradley. He's an independent. He's the Mayor of Letterkenny, as I say. That conference on Friday from 9:30 a.m. Kicks off in earnest at 10. Registration from 9:30, and it's down in the Station House Hotel. And as I say, you have to start somewhere, don't you? 086 60 25,000. Let's get to some of your comments coming in this morning. On a lighter note, actually, it is World Emoji Day today. The digital reactions used across social apps and messages have been around since 1998. World Emoji Day was created in 2014 by the founder of Emojipedia. The date is to celebrate the universal language of emojis and their ability to portray emotions. But can they? I think some people find the thumbs up really quite dismissive. Don't like getting the thumbs up. It's almost as bad as the K that Caroline tends to send me when she's finished with our conversation. But the thumbs up, I find it really quite lazy. Or is it really, really good? I don't know. What's your favourite emoji? Do you use them? Do you dislike them? 086 60 25,000. I live in the Killyclug area of Letterkenny, says this listener, and last night at around 25 to 1, I saw 3 large lights in the sky, but no sound. Has anyone any idea of what it could have been? So 3 large lights in the sky, no sound. Now, the last time we saw strange sequence of lights in the sky in this part of the world, it was Elon Musk's satellites, which are not quite in space and they're not in the Earth's atmosphere, and they run like a string. I'm not sure if that's what that listener saw, but were you out and about last night after midnight? Did you see 3 lights in the sky? What were they? Let us know. In 2019, RTE spent $26,000 for 6 people in a hotel. Shocking. That's coming in from another listener. I don't know. That story must have been covered somewhere this morning because people are up in arms about it. A caller says, it is in the papers. Is it all right? Okay. I kind of skipped past anything that started with the letters RTE this morning. I think people are living way above their means, says this listener. And what's worse is the people off the 2000 upwards got used to living the high life. When we were growing up in the 1960s, we made do with what we had. But now the people in their 30s and 40s want more than they can afford. Have you seen that? I mean, that's one listener that is of that belief. I suppose if you did grow up in the 60s and 70s, do you see a huge change, not just in the world as such, but in people's attitudes? Are we harder to please? One of the biggest abusers of our children's rights at this very moment, says this listener, is our government. Homeless children, waiting lists for sick children, students being turfed out of their accommodation so landlords can make huge profits. Who's signing off on that? Our Minister for Children believes that listener. Is a normal family forgotten about? This is off the back of a conversation. We were talking about sex education, and it's just part of a curriculum change for Leaving Cert students. Affirmation care is what's basically being taught. If you see all that is happening in the US, should be enough. Parents should also be advised exactly what's happening out there. The battle the parents are having with school boards, people should be able to see exactly what's taught before it is shown in class, before they give consent, and don't say it's just another subject to be taught. It's not. Well, they are making the changes to the curriculum. It's open for consultation now, by the way. So now is the time, if you are concerned, to have your say. Look at what they're proposing and say, no, we don't want that, or yes, we do want that. It's in consultation now. So now is the time, I think, for people to have their say as well. Hi, Greg. I can't understand the great need to be talking to children about sex. Transgenders should be kept out of school. A lot of ideology. Be better learning how to cook and keep that nonsense away from innocent children, says one listener. Another, should the video not be shown to parents before it's taught so the teachers have to practice with our children when they're comfortable? Then they show parents to decide. That's putting the cart before the horse. I would be a big advocate of particularly controversial subjects like this, that video, and I said it on Friday, don't want to keep repeating myself, that parents get a chance to look at it. It's the easier way to engage, to look at it and have their say. It's at draft stage, and if enough parents say they do not want gender dysmorphia normalised, maybe vulnerable children, then they need to say no. That's according to Vincent. But also, you know, there's a lot of parents out there that are happy for their children to be taught of what is in the world, not being taught how to do it or what to do it, but there are different people out there with different that live their lives a certain way, and is it harmful to educate children that simply is the case? I don't know. I just want to add that I do agree parents should be aware of what schools are teaching, that yes, teach them the basics, but let the children hold on to their innocence. They do grow up way too fast. No need to bombard children with intimate details at such young ages. Right, okay. The pauses are so I don't accidentally go from a serious comment into something less serious and then back again. That's why I do pause from time to time. This listener says Donegal could use the green agenda to build energy efficient houses under the DBS scheme. Take a look at Scandinavian countries who for years have built efficient houses. Our technology in the last 30 years is Stone Age compared to other countries. But listen, again, this is where the message gets confusing, because as part of the defective concrete redress scheme, people are being encouraged, incentivised to rebuild houses to old standards. Like, where is the sense in that? How are we supposed to make sense of anything when senseless decisions are being made? So, yes, of course, we should be building super efficient houses under schemes, and that's to be encouraged. But we have a government-funded minimum 2.9 billion scheme that effectively is rebuilding houses, building new houses to old standards. So how does anyone make sense of anything when that is policy? It's nonsensical, I think, anyway. Last one before we take a break for the news and obituary notices. Dogs are barking non-stop in the Ballyrain Goatley area. It's very annoying. keep my window closed and I can still hear them. Can you plead with dog owners to attend to the dogs? Otherwise, we'll have no alternative but to report it to the dog warden. Nothing worse than constant barking, says this listener. They are saying, please, if you've got dogs in that area, Ballyrain, Goat Lee, they're barking all night, they can't sleep, and they feel that if something is not done, they may have to report it to the dog warden. OK, just a quick reminder of the numbers before we take that break for the news and obituary notes is 086 60 25,000. That's your WhatsApps and texts. Or give us a call on 074 91 25,000.
Entries are now being taken for the Clonmany Agricultural Show. Competitions in sheep, cattle, pony and horse, poultry, home industry, sheep shearing and show jumping. Entries close the 22nd of July. You can enter online at clonmanyshow.com or by entry form to the secretary. Email clonmanyagrishow@gmail.com. The two-day Clonmany Agricultural Show, the 8th and 9th of August. Packed full of events for all the family.
Green Shoes Big Summer Sale is now on, both in-store and online, with up to 40% off men's, women's and children's footwear. Get great savings on the biggest names in footwear, including Riker, Skechers and Tamaris. Also Echo, Heavenly Feet, Una Healy and many more. Shoes, boots, sandals and trainers. Bag a bargain today at Green Shoes Big Summer Sale now on. In-store in Letterkenny and Fulcara and online at greenshoes.com.
In the next 15 seconds, you're going to find out where is the best place in the Northwest to buy a bed or mattress. It's Restex Beds and Furniture Mountaintop, Letterkenny, where comfort meets style.
Play Dunfanny Golf Club Open Week from Thursday the 20th to Sunday the 30th of July. 3-ball better ball, open ladies and gents stroke in Stableford. 3 and 4-ball better ball and a team classic. Just some of the daily competitions you can enjoy. Come and play Dunfanny Golf Club Open Week. It's special. To book, call 07491363335 or book online at dunfannygolfclub.com.
Dergfest Music Festival Castlederg presents Europe's premier Queen tribute act, Queen, Sunday, July 30th at the Dergfest Big Top Castlederg, plus ABBA tribute to Bjorn Identity and tributes to U2 and Lady Gaga. Tickets $27.50. See dergfest.co.uk. Sponsored by Castle Glass Castlederg. Strictly over 18s.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's Donna Marie Doherty with the news in full at 10 o'clock. Donegal's 5 TDs are to attend a meeting this morning with members of Donegal County Council. It's to discuss the national policy which restricts access on the N56. Gahirlock of Glanty's Municipal District says young people are emigrating from West Donegal because they can't get permission to build houses close to home. Councillor Michael McClafferty added that county councillors do not have the power to challenge this and hopes TDs will raise it in the Dáil.
It's a national planning framework as such. It's there, it has to change. So that's what we're hoping this morning, to get our 5 TDs into the room there this morning at 9:30 as arranged, and we can obviously put our views across to them. They're well aware of it anyway, but we want to put our views across to them as a council as such, and see then can they get this into the Dáil, get it raised in the Dáil, because I firmly believe that if this was down Kerry or elsewhere, we wouldn't have been having this problem, to be quite honest with you. And it's once again, it's Donegal just seems to get the hammering all the time, no matter how it is, Donegal gets it.
Post-mortems will be carried out today on the bodies of 2 men who died while competing in a rally event yesterday. The men, who were aged in their 30s and 40s, died instantly when their car hit a wall during the Sligo Stages rally near Ballymote. Gardaí are asking that footage of the collision is not shared across social media or messaging apps. Gardaí and Motorsport Ireland are investigating. Sligo-based journalist Saoirse Crowley says both men were married with young families.
They would have been known the length and breadth of the country, the entire 32 counties, according to the men I spoke to yesterday. They said they were very well known, lovely lads, and they would have been very experienced. So there is a lot of shock and surprise, and obviously there will be devastation for their families.
Senior Garda officials are warning that low officer numbers have forced Gardaí into reactive policing. Antoinette Cunningham, General Secretary of the AGSI, says there are no longer enough Gardaí for a visible police presence in Ireland. It comes as Fianna Fáil TD Willie O'Day criticised the Justice Minister on the government's new hate speech and crime legislation. He says Gardaí need to focus the limited resources they have on addressing the rise in street crime and antisocial behaviour in the country. Antoinette Cunningham agrees.
I think he's absolutely right to flag something that AGSI have been saying for some time. The resources that An Garda Síochána have at the present time are the lowest that they've had for a very long time. At the end of May, Garda numbers had dropped down to 13,927. We've turned into a more reactive police force, and I don't think that the current model of policing is actually working.
Ireland's budget watchdog is calling for the government to set aside windfall taxes to pay for future pensions. The amount of money spent on the state pension has grown by 50% in the last decade. The Irish Fiscal Advisory Council insists the state should now plan to meet increasing pension costs in the years ahead. The IFAC's chair, Michael McMahon, says it's time to build up savings to meet spending needs.
Taking some of the windfall corporation tax that Ireland's very lucky to be receiving at the moment. And it gives a great opportunity to start building up a savings vehicle, which the government has said they intend on doing. But we would like to see it set aside for the pension costs.
Councillors in the Letterkenny Milford Municipal District are being asked to ring-fence any extra LIS money for a project in Garton. Councillor Michael McBride says the avenue from the Heritage Centre to Garton Bridge is in a very bad state and it needs to be tarred as a matter of urgency. At an MD meeting this week, he'll ask colleagues to agree that if a second tranche of LIS funding arrives later this year, that the stretch will be prioritised. Councillor McBride says the road is widely used.
That is one of the most scenic walks that we have in the whole Letterkenny Milford municipal area along the banks of Garton Lake there. It's an area that's used by a lot of people every day, taking their families out there for walking, but it's nearly impossible at the moment with potholes and that, and people with kids and prams and stuff like that, and children on bicycles. I think, they're finding it very difficult to navigate it there. And I've been asked by many local people to try and push the issue about getting the avenue resurfaced again.
A double child benefit payment could be made to parents after Budget Day. It's understood to be among the once-off measures being considered by government to help with the cost of living. Talks between the coalition parties will intensify in the weeks ahead on what measures will be included in October's budget. According to the Irish Independent, an extra 2 weeks of leave for new parents is also under consideration. Looking now to weather, today is going to have some sunny spells and scattered showers. Highs of 15 to 18 degrees in a light, occasionally moderate westerly breeze. That's all for now. We'll be back again with the news headlines at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notices this Monday morning, July 17th. The death has taken place of Eileen Byrne, Carrick McGrath, Ballybuffet. Remains reposing at her late residence. Funeral leaving from there tomorrow morning at 10:20am for Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church Sessionil at 11am. Interment after in the adjoining churchyard. Requiem Mass will be streamed live via the parish YouTube channel. Donations in lieu of flowers, if so desired, directly to the Donegal Hospice or care of any family member. Family time, please, from 10pm to 11am and on the morning of the funeral. The death has taken place of Thomas Green, Linden Avenue, Beaumont, Cork, and formerly of Rarui. Cremation service at 4 o'clock this afternoon at the Island Crematorium, Rocky Island, Ringaskiddy, County Cork. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu to Marymount Hospice. The death has taken place of Hugh Heron, 68 Glen Road. Funeral from his home at 11am. For 11:30, Requiem Mass in St Eugene's Cathedral. Interment afterwards in the city cemetery. The death has taken place of Mary Hegarty, Ardmore Muff. Remains reposing at her home. Removal from there this morning at 10:15 a.m. to the Sacred Heart Church Muff for Requiem Mass at 11 a.m, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. Mary's Requiem Mass can be viewed on mcnmedia.tv. Family time please before the funeral this morning. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Donegal Hospice care of any family member or Murphy Funeral Directors. The death has occurred of Charlie Anthony McDade, Trentaboy Drumkeen, reposing at his late residence. Funeral from there today for 12 noon Mass in St Patrick's Church Drumkeen, with burial afterwards in the family plot. Family time this morning before the funeral please. Family flowers only please. The death has taken place of Sarah Dugan ní Gallagher, Cashel Nagor, Gorta Hork. Her remains are reposing at her home. Funeral Mass today at 12 noon in Christ the King Church, Gorta Hork. Sarah's interment and the interment of her daughter Mairead's ashes will take place in Gorta Hork Cemetery after the funeral Mass. The funeral Mass can be viewed on Kieran Rorty Funeral Director's Facebook page and on the parish webcam. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu to the Patients Comfort Fund Lake House Nursing Home, care of any family member or Kieran Rorty Funeral Director. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
I'm Daniel.
Siobhan, guess where I like to shop?
Bet it's Aldi. I just like how much I can get for my money. You can feed the family for great value at Aldi.
And I like the specially selected range.
Like Ireland's first ever Diamond Taste Award winner, specially selected dry-aged Black Angus ribeye steak.
It's quality.
So if you like great value and award-winning Irish steaks, it's got to be Aldi, Ireland's most reputable supermarket.
And you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Good morning if you have just tuned in. A caller says, hope we don't go down the way England is going and not tell parents anything about what they're teaching our children. Anyone can inquire as to what's being taught of their children, though I do think parents do need to take a bit more control. We really, really need a bus service in the town. I presume this is Letterkenny. Every town in Ireland with the same population has a proper town bus service. St Conal's Hospital is the perfect example of dereliction. HSE is the massive property but still rent property from private sectors. Well, a proper bus service, even a loss-making one that runs regularly and people can trust it and know it's there and then start availing of it. So we were talking then about what the rules were in relation to dogs on blue flag beaches. Because a year's passed and people thought it was in, but it was still in consultation, and there was a bit of confusion last year. I was confused. I'm not saying there was mass confusion. So thanks to Caroline here, we checked up what exactly the rules and regs are at the moment. So new rules came into force during the bathing season, which started on June the 1st, to control beach access for dogs and other pets. Assistance dogs not restricted. So from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. each day from the 1st of June until the 15th of September, dogs are only allowed in pet-friendly zones on 10 blue flag beaches and 2 other beaches that it's hoped will gain blue flags in the coming years. So, Rossnowla, Merva, Fintra, Nairn New, on Carrickfinn, Killahoe, Marble Hill, Downings, Port Salon, Rathmullen, Lisfannon and Culdaff. Dogs are not allowed on these beaches between 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. until the 15th of September. That doesn't mean they're not allowed on a lead, off a lead. They're not allowed on the beaches at all. There are some designated areas. Is it clear? Are you a beachgoer with a dog? Have you seen these designated areas of the beach or areas that are designated as not being dog friendly? The restricted areas will include the area supervised by beach lifeguards plus a buffer either side. So as of now, just to recap, dogs, whether they're on a lead or off a lead or other pets for that matter, unless they're assistant dogs, guide dogs, etc., they're not allowed on the beach between 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. on Merva, Rosnala, Fintra, Portnew, Narran, Carrickfinn, Killahoe, Marble Hill, Downings, Port Salon, Rathmullen, Lisfannon and Coldaff. So there you go. It's clear as that. Now, in terms of enforcement, is it the dog warden? Is it the Garda? Is it council staff? Is it anybody? Has there been any level of enforcement? Do you know any of this information? 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000. A very special happy birthday to Tina Moore in Lurgy Brack. Lots of love from sister Sarah and niece in Oma. Could you please play a birthday request on the 9 till noon show for my sister Tina Moore, Lurgy Brack? Tina, you're very popular. Celebrating a birthday today. Lots of love from her sister Sarah and her nieces and nephew in Oma. Thanks a million. That comes in from Sarah, as I mentioned, her sister. No problem at all. And our own Aisling McGeever is celebrating her birthday today. Big roundy one, I think, is it? I'm not quite sure. Happy birthday, Aisling, from all of us and your family, I'm sure, who didn't bother texting in to wish you a happy birthday. So I presume maybe their batteries are flat or something. I'm sure it's not that they don't care. Anyway, couldn't be that. Surely. Right, back after these. And you know what? The reason I said that, I got about 6 thumbs up when I talked about emojis, and I said the thumbs up emoji annoyed me. I got 6 of them. So there you go. The favour has been returned.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday, July 17th. You're playing on a green coloured sheet. The reference number is S1. It's game number 29. The numbers are the number 7, 23, 30, 81, 90, 26, 14, 55, 46, and 68. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 p.m. tonight, leaving your name, contact number, and the name of the shop where you purchased your book. Get all your NCBI Radio Bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Is the appearance of your staff important to your business? It's the first point of contact for customers when entering your premises. At C&M Embroidery in Letterkenny, they have a huge range of clothing covering all areas of the workplace. It's widely known that customers warm to and trust employees that present themselves well. Have your company name embroidered or printed on all your work uniforms. Contact C&M Embroidery on 07491 28097 and get your staff looking their best.
Hi, Paddy here at Shane Conley Cars in Donegal Town. Are you looking to upgrade your car? With Shane Conley Cars, you'll find makes and models for every budget. Great finance options, and we also accept trade-ins. Check out ShaneConleyCars.com or call in to us at Shane Conley Cars from Lonher Road, Donegal Town.
Looking for the best place in the Northwest to get a bed or mattress? Restex Beds and Mountaintop Letterkenny has a great selection and great prices. Restex Beds has everything you need for a good night's sleep. Visit them today and sleep better tonight.
Now, a very good morning to Michael, Rosemary, Annie, John, Paul, Charlie, Sally, Kathleen, Marie, all amongst the hundreds watching our live stream. And just to remind you that you can watch this programme every day for 3 hours on our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland. That's across all your devices, your smart TV and your Fire Stick as well. We're also on Facebook, Highland Radio News and Sport or Highland Hub. And there's a wee watch live on our website. You can click and watch in browser too, and you can see the majority of our guests over the course of each show. Just to remind you too, if you have any views about the football at the weekend, heartbreak for the ladies of Donegal, heartbreak for the men of Derry, and Monaghan also probably feeling a little bit heartbroken this morning still. Brendan Devaney is going to be joining us after 11 for a chat about all the weekend's GE action and also previewing Highland Radio's DL Debate podcast, which is available for you a little later on today. But on to other matters now. And the CEO of Alone is Sean Moynihan. Thank you very much for joining us, Sean. Good to have you on the show.
Good morning, good to be here.
We are seeing a direction of traffic now, and it was foreshadowed. We're seeing more and more automated checkout machines, not just in the big stores, but in smaller stores, in places in smaller communities. And older people were polled, and quite a significant amount of them are not happy about this for different reasons, of course. So, Sean, what are older people telling you?
Yeah, look, I think at the end of the day, I suppose the polls show what the customer wants. And I suppose traditionally, private companies are good at providing services in line with what their customer wants. But some of the automation that goes on is sort of leaving some people out at the moment, or not providing them the service the way they want it. So whether that's, the utility companies, we do an awful lot of work supporting older people that if something goes wrong or a poor reading or whatever, trying to get access to a person to sort out problems can be really difficult. And we also obviously have that problems in shops where everything's becoming automated. And remember, 20% of the population, over 1 million people, are over 60. And then another 13-14% of people may have a disability. So they might have different customer service needs. So in that way, we think organisations should be listening to what the customer needs and how the customer wants to be serviced.
And Sean, can I say too, of course, this is a poll, a survey of older people, but I would say it's probably, it's probably representative across all of all age groups. A lot of people are finding the whole shopping experience more difficult than it needs to be, a sterile experience. I think more and more people are moving to getting shopping delivered to their homes. I mean, I know more people than I would have expected to that now don't go to the shop at all. They just get it delivered to the door wherever they're living. I don't know if that's. It's not. It doesn't feel good for society, that does it?
Well, I think it's part of a much wider conversation, and I think this is sort of sometimes it's these smaller elements of things, small but important elements. Is there was a report out 6 weeks ago that says Ireland is actually the loneliest place in Europe. So it's part of that disconnect of things that are disappearing in our communities. Relationships are disappearing. Loneliness across all age groups is high and highest in Europe. And ultimately, that means poor physical health and poor mental health. And on top of that is it's also part of the conversation about an ageing society, where ultimately is we now have 1 million people over 60 and rising. So ultimately, maybe transport systems, housing systems, shops, everything needs to adapt to maybe that the customer is changing.
I've said it on this show before, and I'll say it again right now. Older people are... some older people might start feeling now that they're a problem, they're an inconvenience. If you talk about issues in health, it's about our ageing population. And then when you see how our towns are being developed and designed, are they really age-friendly? We're seeing, for instance, older people more inclined to use cash are being told that they can't pay at the turnstiles for a football match. The local Garda station is shut down. And it's like death by 1,000 cuts. But the issue I have with all of this, Sean, is that it's presumed that this is just the way it's going. We're deciding all of this. Policy is deciding this. Our attitude. We don't have to go down this route. We can actually say, do you know what? We actually don't want everything automated. We can actually be a society where we actually still interact and serve each other and laugh with each other and talk to each other. We don't have to do this.
I think that's the insight. As I said, it rolls up into that wider conversation around loneliness and everything else. Is that where we're driving? Because, as I said, the loneliness rates among young and old are united. Not everybody wants to go and live the way we're doing. So I think this is part of the conversation. There are wonderful things technology can do in health services, etc. And we're using technology to help people age at home. But the reality is in different scenarios, it's not what people want. And as you say, we decide the direction of travel, and that's why conversations about how do we change, what are the housing needs of an older population, we find it really hard to get traction on that. We've a pre-budget launch last week, and we're really finding it hard to get traction on some of the issues that affect older people, even though it's 20% of the population. It is a bit like, well, this is the way things are, and we've got to keep driving in that direction. And we think we need to be having a conversation and decide collectively what way we want it to be.
Yeah, and it will come to a stage, I imagine, where big shops, supermarkets will start saying, hold on, there's a market here. We can start appealing to older people and have different style checkouts, where there isn't a rush or what have you. I think that's happening already in some other countries. But it's crazy because we're going into the direction that we're going to start sort of saying, right, we now can exploit this and attract these people back. And I think, Sean, one thing we shouldn't forget is that hopefully more of us will live older than ever did before. This is going to be, if you're listening now and you're 40 or 50 or 30, this is your future as well. Look at the way things are going now and look at the way the world might be when you're over 60. Is that the way you want to go? Now, we all need to buy in on this rather than people like yourself, Sean, very, very well, of course, as always, advocating on behalf of older people. Society needs to take more control over this situation as well, I think. I mean, back to that no cash for GEA games things. People huffed and puffed about that and they were ignored, just ignored, and is that really the way we want to go, whereby big organisations, big companies make decisions and we just have to like it or lump it?
I think actually your prediction, or I'm hopeful your prediction that what will happen is they'll try all the automation and then they get pushed back, and then somebody will realise actually customer services where the added value is, customer services where you attract the, whether it's older people or younger people or people with disabilities, you attract people. But I think that there will be a pushback against this. I think some of the great stuff around technology and medicine and healthcare, absolutely fabulous. But in how we live our everyday lives, if we cut out the human, we've a phrase in here where we use technology. So we're using technology to drive human interaction, to learn more about the needs of older people and to respond to that. And I think in societal terms, that's really what we need to be using technology for, to enhance people's lives, not to cut down their human contact, not to cut down their levels of satisfaction, not to increase their stress, but to make life better.
Yeah, and this is not just a feeling either, and you mentioned this at the start, Sean, and I just want to focus on it towards the end. Like, loneliness is not just, it is a feeling, of course, but it's the impact it can have on people's mental and physical well-being as well. They are linked, which then in turn has an impact on, people's independence or their dependence on the health service or what have you. Again, it's all very much in our interests, if not for the care of other people, then for the functioning of society, that again, everyone takes note of these types of conversations and where we're going.
I think, look, if you were talking now, I represent an organisation that in the first 6 months of the year worked with 22,000 older people across the whole country, every corner of the country, and I can tell you the levels of loneliness are really high. The medical evidence is that it'll damage your mental and your physical health and you will die younger is absolutely there. But if you were interviewing the Samaritans or Jigsaw or a lot of other organisations that work with different age groups or different people that with presenting needs, they would be telling you the same thing. And it's something we need to talk about, and we need to look at, see how our rural towns and villages and how our urban are going to work better for people. We understand technology is going to keep coming in, but how is it going to serve people rather than lead to a situation where people are isolated, lonely, cut off, unsupported and don't feel cared for?
Sean, thanks for your time this morning. Sean Moynihan, CEO of Alone there. A texter says, "Hi Greg, I just want to say I have a relation who's very ill, possibly end of life at Letterkenny University Hospital. We called in yesterday. May I add, not at visiting time, but the staff in Medical 5 was so lovely. They brought tea, coffee, sandwiches and biscuits and treated us like royalty. They were busy but took the time to be kind. They get so much negative reviews. I had to tell you our experience. God bless them all. Thanks, Greg." And indeed, and just to clarify, often the negativity is based on their working environment, not the great care and treatment provided by the staff. Harry, good morning to you. Are you there? No, Harry's not through yet. Is he? No. We'll get Harry through in a second. Could you ask Sean, has any progress been made on the Fair Deal scheme for home care? That comes in from Connell. Connell, maybe that's just quite an important issue that we might focus separately on that, because a lot of people might be interested in that. Hi, Greg. Shall we go to Harry now? Hi, Harry. Good morning to you.
Good morning. How's it going?
I'm all right. I'm good. Right, Harry, what's your experience of using self-service tills?
Not great, but I had a problem with my tap card, and I had to use the money came out of my account 4 times, and the tap, something happened with the till, and just lucky I'm on a wheelchair, and the person carried me, had money with them, and I paid for my shopping because they actually took nearly €150 out of my account, and they left me in limbo then all week. I couldn't get money out of the account then for 2 weeks because they didn't give me the money back, and they called it a ghost account then because something happened with the tap card. There was nothing wrong with the card at all,
But every time you tapped, the money was coming out, but the till wasn't saying that you'd paid, so you effectively ended up paying 4 times, plus then with cash at a regular till.
Yeah.
Was it tough to get the money back?
Took 10 working days.
Wow.
And, if I was depending on it, lucky the boy cared to me. I would have been, that week I would have had no money. You couldn't get nothing out of the bank. Only for the person cared for me,
Yeah. That's you finished with the tap and go now. You're a cash man.
Cash man.
You know what I mean?
But it's no joke, you depend on it, and it's, that's crazy how they can do it,
Yeah. No, I don't use cash much.
I'll be honest, that happened to me 3 weeks ago, and I was running from one shop to the bank, and one was blaming the other, were taking money, but actually it was the Bank of Ireland that took the money out of the account,
Yeah. But you got it back eventually. But as you say, though, that was €150 odd that you didn't have access for 10 days. And, things are tight. I mean, that's through no fault of your own.
Me hungry all week again,
Yeah. Okay. Right. But from now on, as I say, I was going to say I would tap away, and I'm pretty good at keeping track of it, if you know what I mean. But I have been caught out a couple of times where the phone didn't tap properly, and I had no cash and no backup. So I always try and carry a bit of cash with me now myself, Harry.
Well, I advise people to have cash because the simple reason is the technology doesn't really work half the time,
Yeah. All right. That's your experience for sure.
I got back from the bank.
All right, good stuff. And thankfully you had someone with you too that was able to help you out with the cash. They had the cash with them. All right, Harry.
Just imagine I hadn't.
Of course, what would you do?
Having somebody with me,
Yeah, exactly. You'd have had no shopping and having paid for it 4 times effectively. Exactly. All right, Harry, listen, thanks so much for your time. I appreciate that. So that's Harry's experience. Not pleasant. And it's kind of in... Some people it wouldn't be embarrassing, but for others, when you tap and sometimes you've reached the amount of times you can tap your card and then you have to put the card in, or if it's on your phone, and it can all get very embarrassing at the till. But that was Harry's experience at a self-service till.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Design driven by impulse, performance in tune with your emotions, an instant connection, electric. At Cupra, we believe in galvanizing these instincts. It's why the Cupra Born, our 100% electric model, looks, feels and behaves unlike anything else on the road. Follow your impulse and visit cupraofficial.ie to see our incredible July offers. Cupra Born. Test drive today. Own it tomorrow.
Kelly's Diner in Letterkenny proudly introduced its newest member of the team, a family-friendly robotic waiter. It's the only one of its kind in the Northwest, there to help staff serve customers. And with a packed menu to pick from all week, from early to late, there's loads to do. If you'd like to see this robotic waiter in action, just pop into Kelly's award-winning diner today at Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Summer at
reductions on your favourite brands at Brian McCormick Sports, Brooks and Asics with 20% off. Check in-store and online. Brooks Glycerine and Adrenaline 22 GTS save 20%. Asics Keanu 29, Asics GT 2011 save 20%. Get ready for the summer and save 20% off your favourite kids' Asics trainers. Look the part, play the part. In-store and online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
Now, we are joined on the programme by a legend of music and broadcasting, and you're going to have an opportunity to see him up here very soon. It's Ronan Collins. Ronan, good morning to you. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Greg. Nice to talk to you this morning.
How are you getting on?
Very, very well. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for the description of being a legend. I was always thinking in my lifetime, legends were generally people who were very old and past their prime.
Well, but, I think it's...
I don't know where I fall into those.
Well, neither. I think it's a phrase that's often thrown around with good intent, but when you maintain one of the longest-running radio shows on Ireland's national station, pulling in 250,000 listeners, I think that sort of gets you into that category quite comfortably.
Well, thank you for the compliment. Thank you.
In terms of how people know you, obviously, primarily, is it the case that people would associate you with the radio show? And others are going to know your musical background as well, but what's the balance there in terms of how... I
think the fact that I was around for so long, and I started off in music, and I got into radio, and I was lucky enough to be able to continue with my fascination for music in all the programs that I did down through the years. And then in television, you know, I had a television career for about 20 years. I did game shows and famously Play the Game. And then I did the lotto draws, where I became very much a part of people's households for a few years, when everybody used to look at the lotto draw when it was only available on television at 8:05 on a Wednesday night or a Saturday night. And I became synonymous with that. So I think all of those things together kind of turn you into a very familiar sight and sound. And I was very comfortable with it. It was great.
Yeah. And how has life been without the regular commitment of the 1 hour show? Of course, people can still hear the Collins Collection on bank holidays and you work in RTE Gold. It's a huge change in your life and routine, is it, stepping away from an everyday show? Has it?
Absolutely. It has been a great change, but it's been an extraordinarily happy change. I mean, I'm into my 7th month now. 7 months since I've been on daily radio, and I haven't missed the grind of the drive in every day, because I don't live in Dublin where I was broadcasting. Yes, I had the facility to do it from my home if I wanted to, but I never did that. I always felt that part and parcel of the job was going to the station and doing it. So that daily commute of 150 kilometres every day is gone, and I have a different rhythm to my life. I don't seem to be any less busy with things. I've so much still to do, but I think a lot of it is personal and a lot of it is more leisure, if you like. But I'm still working. I'm doing gigs at night with the bands, and as you mentioned, I have a commitment with RTE Gold, which takes up my Tuesday, and once a month then for RTE Radio 1 for the Collins Collection. And we've had amazing guests on that, and we're actually recording another one next week for the bank holiday Monday on the 7th of August. It'll be Christy Moore, just me and him.
Yeah, and it was kind of an interesting departure from the daytime show, because of course, I'm not saying you were, but you want to be at pains, don't you, to say, no, Mike, this is going to be my focus now. I'm not going away. I'm not retired. I'm not, I'm not going to be taking around the back of the house or anything, you know what I mean? So it's a case of getting the message across that, yes, you're not going to necessarily hear me regularly every day, every weekday at 12, but, I've got so much else on and time to afford my own interests a little bit more of their attention. My attention.
Absolutely. And the other thing about it is that my career for certainly the last 20 years has involved live music very much as well. And that was something that I wasn't moving away from. But I didn't feel it would be right at the end of last year to say I'm giving up the daily program on RTE Radio 1, but I'm going to do this, that, and the other, because that wasn't what it was about. It was about leaving something behind that I had done for a long time. And I needed, as you get older, you need a bit more time if you want to focus on other things. You can't do everything that you want to do forever and ever. So that was why I made the change. And it also gave the opportunity for somebody new and younger to come in and see if they can have a go at it and try and get as much out of it as I did. And if they do, well, they'll have a ball.
Yeah, I hope so. But again, it kind of felt like, you obviously are able to make your own decisions, but why? It was such a familiar voice, a familiar sound, and but anyway, things change, and there's always a point in time where things change.
Well, there was also the thing that it was an opportunity for me to make my decision, myself, and do it my own way. And in the broadcasting business, because I was a freelancer, an independent contractor of whom we've heard so much of late, but I didn't have a staff job in RTE, never wanted one, never required one, always wanted to be able to do other things as well. And it was an opportunity for me last year, after my thought processes. I was 70 last October, and I said, wouldn't this be a great time to just park this and focus on other things and have time to do
what you want to
more of what I want to
exactly.
do. That's why I did it.
Yeah, a quick question, and it's been talked about so much of late, and I want to move on to the gig. But looking when you, obviously with the love and affection you have for RTE, it must sadden you to see the reputational damage that's been caused. It will recover. Look, time moves on, and things move on, and things change. As much surprised you of it? Do you welcome the fact that maybe they're starting to talk about cultural change there, or do you have a view on it, Ronan? As I say, we won't dwell on it. I want to talk about the music, but
yeah, well, I think the mix of public service broadcasting and commercial broadcasting has always been strange bedfellows, and I think it has proven to be a difficulty for RTE, and we're seeing things now. Yes, it is sad what's going on, but in the words of the great Gay Byrne, this too will pass. And out of the embers or the ashes or whatever, RTE will rise again. And I just hope that there's no victims in this.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying there. Right, Ronan. On Wednesday, the 2nd of August at 8 p.m. in the Waterfront Hotel, there's a brilliant show. Talk to the people now about what they can enjoy. What is happening in the beautiful venue that is the Waterfront?
Well, I can tell you that this is the achievement of an ambition I've had for years. I've never been at the Mary from Dunlow Festival, first of all. I've had a great association with Donegal through the years, right back to the 1970s when I was up there with Dickie Rock, and we used to play the Borderland in Muff or the Pavisi in Donegal, and we played in Letterkenny and Killybegs and just everywhere, all over Donegal with the bands. And we used to actually go up there and stay in Donegal town, and you would do nearly a full week of gigs all around the county. And that's how big Donegal was in terms of the music thing. And of course, Donegal always maintained its great association with music through its own artists down through the years. And Daniel thought it might have been a good idea that maybe the show band memories could be brought up, and realized that I was doing a show which is basically show band memories. Now, we have our Reeling in the Show Band Years tour, which we do in January and February. But this show is Ronan Collins sings show band hits with special guests. And we've Brendan Shine and Sandy Kelly, and the band are the Conquerors, who are they're just the best. If you look up the festivals this summer, and see what band is backing all the great artists. It's the Conquerors, and they're a terrific band. And then having Brendan Shine on, Brendan has been just a legend for all those years. And Sandy herself, a great performer, a great show person. And it's just a great opportunity for us to bring this show and bring these memories and the songs to Donegal. And where better to do it? And I mean, the Mary from Dunlow Festival is legendary, you know, absolutely legendary.
I always think things like this are brilliant, you know, for people in the local area who want to relive the brilliant memories and all. But there's going to be people from Germany or America or something that might be able to grab a ticket that just happen to be visiting. What an experience for those people will be as well. And the show band era, it comes up on programs like this all of the time. People have great memories, met their partners there, had their children about 9 months after a show, traveled great distances. You know, you'd have people that would probably have attended every single show that you did while you were in Donegal, all over the county and all across the region. And still there's a new generation of people that appreciate and love the show band music too.
Absolutely. And, you know, it was a great fun time. I wasn't in the bands in the 60s when they were in their heyday. It was the mid-70s before I got any chance to go on the road, as I mentioned, with Dickie Rock all those years ago, who was still doing the business in the 70s, as was Joe Dolan. And the thing had moved considerably from the ballrooms, and it was now incorporating hotels and concert venues. And it was Dickie and Joe who forged that particular thing of concert venues for essentially a show band act. But they were exceptional at the time. And I think, looking back over the years, it was of huge social significance in the 1960s because there was nothing else to do except go to the show. And it became an extraordinary phenomenon, uniquely Irish. And it really had a great run from about 1960 until 1967, 68, thereabouts. And of course, the Miami show band murders kind of killed it. If you forgive the analogy.
Understood,
but
yeah.
It killed the business completely. And you know, such a tragedy and such a terrible way for the whole thing to end. And what happened was bands continued on for a few more years, but then the social thing fizzled out completely. And other things moved in, clubs and discos and hotels with bars and music, and it went a different way. But that didn't eliminate people's desire to go and see the great stars. And there were other stars who emerged in the 70s then. And the great Red Hurley came out in the 70s and did the ballroom circuit, because that's what you did. The band from Cork called the Champions. Daniel O'Donnell appeared in the 1980s and did the ballrooms and the hotels for a long, long time before he became the biggest concert act of all. And it was quite extraordinary. And all the time, I think it was the Irish people's love of a few good old songs and a bit of crack. And that's basically what it is. It's very, I don't want to call it simple entertainment, but it's very straightforward. It's about good music, well played by good artists, and people enjoying it.
Yeah, and great musicians like the Conquerors. Do you have a song that you think for you is synonymous with the show band era?
Well, I'm lucky enough in that, you know, I mean, I've had a singing voice for years, and I sang when I was in the bands years ago. I drummed and sang at the same time, and never had the desire to be out the front. And when we started to revive the show band songs through the CDs that I compiled about, it must be 15 years ago now, they were a huge success, and there was a great demand from people. Can we see these stars? And so we ran shows with Dickie, and we had Brendan Boyer on the shows, and all the great stars through the years. But unfortunately, Dickie doesn't perform anymore. Brendan Boyer has passed, and we never got Joe Dolan, because Joe still had his career when we started our show band things. And then when Joe died in 2007, and Dickie had done the shows with us, it became difficult to kind of get the stars. There were less and less of them. So I started singing the songs. myself. Now, how hard is my neck, Greg? Pretty hard. I'm well matured through the years. So I now sing songs that were Dickie Rocks. And thankfully, I have the opportunity to sing lots of Joe Dolan songs. And indeed, I have a separate show called Joe Dolan Songs that I do, where I'm not, I don't wear a white suit. I don't look like Joe Dolan. I don't act like Joe Dolan. But we sing the songs and we perform the songs that he had, not just his hits, but some of his great album tracks that he did. So asking me for my favorite songs is like asking me about who's my favorite child.
I tried to be clever and say, is there a song that you believe is synonymous with the era? But you figured me out, Ronan. Okay, well, listen, I'm going to remind listeners as a bid farewell to you. I'm going to remind listeners of when, where, and how to get their tickets. But it's been lovely chatting to you, and great to hear things are going so well for you. And we can't wait to have you up here in Donegal performing all the big show band tracks. Thanks so much, Ronan.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Greg. And can I say just before I go, that it's a wonderful tick on my CV now to have appeared in Highland Radio, because people think that when you're in RTE for years, you're not aware of what's going on around the country, and I have always been very, very much aware of the success of Highland Radio in Donegal and up in the Northwest generally. So it was always a great boost to me whenever I got contact from people in Donegal to my radio programme to know that they were listening to both of us.
Oh, that's lovely. Thanks very much, and beautifully put. Thank you, Ronan. Ronan Collins there. Now, he sings the show band hits with the Conquerors show band, plus special guests Sandy Kelly and Brendan Shine. It's all part of the Mary from Dunlow Festival. And his gig is on Wednesday, the 2nd of August at 8 p.m. in the Waterfront Hotel, Dunlow. Tickets are €25 and they're on sale right now at the Waterfront Hotel reception, festival office and online. And it's going to be a cracker for people visiting the area, but for people from here who love that whole show band era, and the tracks, and it's one after another, are absolutely are brilliant. And it was lovely to speak to Ronan Collins there. As I say, we do use the word legend quite a lot, but it certainly applies in that man's case.
Malin RNLI is thrilled to announce its upcoming 30th anniversary celebration on Sunday, July 30th. The organisers have planned a remarkable day of fundraising events that everyone can enjoy, with the Tower to Town 16k Walker Run Challenge, a 5k runner walk, raft and kayak race, music on the green, and the OR118 Coast Guard helicopter display. Malin RNLI cordially invites everyone to join in the festivities and support this momentous milestone. This ad is kindly sponsored by Forward Emphasis Malin.
Did you have a nice time, love?
We went for a picnic. Niamh pinched my sunglasses, the ones you got me. Freya and Connor had a massive fight. I dived for the frisbee, grazed my knee. Nice one, making me take plasters, Mum. Niamh's hay fever flared up, had to buy antihistamines. It started lashing down, but hello, waterproof mascara. And I'm convinced there's Sultan in my hair. Please tell me you got dry shampoo. Best day ever.
Incredible offers all summer long. With you for our perfectly imperfect summer. Boots, with you for life.
Kelly's Diner in Letterkenny proudly introduced its newest member of the team, a family-friendly robotic waiter. It's the only one of its kind in the Northwest, there to help staff serve customers. And with a packed menu to pick from all week, from early to late, there's loads to do. If you'd like to see this robotic waiter in action, just pop into Kelly's award-winning diner today at Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Gavin here from iMotors. Join me on the Nissan Roadshow in Super Value Dunlow the 20th of July, 11am to 8pm. Killybeg Super Value 21st of July, 11am to 8pm. And Kiernan's Ballyshannon 22nd of July, 10am to 5pm. As we will be showcasing our 232 Nissan lineup. Test drive on the day and be in with a chance of winning a €500 Super Value voucher. iMotors, your Nissan dealer for the Northwest.
Now, as we heard earlier, a judge has written to several ministers demanding immediate and coordinated action to deal with an unprecedented crisis in the provision of placements for troubled children in the care of the state. Judge Dermot Sims, who has since retired from the Dublin Metropolitan District Court, sent the detailed letter accompanied by related documents after he had been told in court by the Child and Family Agency of an unprecedented crisis faced by TUSLA. The judge specifically referred to unapproved and unregulated special full emergency arrangements, suggesting there could be as many as 130 of these placements. Dr. Maria Corbett is Chief Executive of the Child Law Project and joins us on the programme now. Thank you for your time today.
Very good. Good morning.
I'm wondering, is any of this information from the judge coming as a surprise? But I would imagine it's welcome that it's getting the spotlight through his commentary, Maria.
Yeah, the work that we do, the Child Law Project, we attend the child protection cases and around the country. So we've been doing this for 10 years, so we can see that these cases are appearing before the judges, and we believe that there's a growing frustration on the part of professionals and judges that the situation at the moment is very difficult for some children in care, whereby there aren't appropriate places for them. So the judge's letter very much reflects what we've been seeing, and we believe it is very important that he has done this, because we do need to, and that's why we've, with his permission, decided to publish his letter, is to make sure that the public understands that this is happening, and to try and garner some attention among the politicians, among the civil servants, to try and bring about a solution to the current issues.
Where do we begin with finding a solution, I wonder, Doctor?
Yeah, I mean, obviously children in care, many of whom are placed in foster care, most 90%, and they have very ordinary lives. But for some children, they have significant needs. So one of the key places that we need to start is early supports and services for children. And those services are around disability, autism. They're around mental health issues, anxiety, self-harm, eating disorders, those kind of issues, as well as psychiatric issues, and responding to the trauma that some children have experienced in their early lives. So what we've seen as part of the problem at the moment is we don't have the services in place. So we don't have the services. And then for those children who have more complex needs, we then don't have placements to provide them with a care setting. So the placements would be in foster care or residential care. So in terms of what we need to do, other than services and placements, we absolutely need interagency and interdepartmental action. So at the moment, we don't have a strategy or plan that brings together the relevant stakeholders, perhaps under a forum or some sort of a committee with a clear roadmap as to what to do. So that would be one of the big things that we'd be asking for at the moment.
Yes, and it's important that we act on this really, really quickly, that, this is not something that just falls off the news cycle. It has to be kept a priority. And I think really reaction from relevant ministers is really important now. Make some sort of a commitment, say that this is acknowledged, this is what we intend doing, this is unacceptable, this can't blow over, because for the people affected, it's not going to blow over, and there'll be more in the future as well.
Exactly. And I mean, what's happening at the moment when there isn't a placement, TUSA's putting in place an emergency setting. But for children, if they're a day in that setting, that might be one thing. But if they're a long term in that setting, it can be very damaging in terms of good outcomes for them. And one example, and we don't normally, when we publish cases, we don't normally name where they're from. We either say Dublin or outside of Dublin. But unusually, in one of the reports, we actually mentioned that the child from Dublin was placed in the Northwest. And he was placed there in a setting. It was a private setting. The providers decided to move him, but they only gave the social workers 2 days' notice. And he was moved then at 2 days' notice from the Northwest to the Southeast. And again, he was still far from his family in Dublin. So when you look at things like that, a sudden move, a shift across the country, two different places around the country, this boy was 9. Like a young child in a residential unit, clearly with needs that needed to be addressed in terms of education, therapeutic supports, and staying connected with his family and his community. So we need to do better than that.
Yeah, and it's not going to wash to say we're trying our best, resources are available, we're struggling in this area or that. you know, I mean, we can fix big problems here. We need to be solution focused, don't we? And not talking about excuses here. People need to put their hands up and say, this is actually completely unacceptable. We can't be treating particularly young people like this, or those involved in providing care, for an example, as well, because they're being caught out in certain circumstances too, I'm sure. This needs to be a hands-up job. It's unacceptable. And this is what we are actually going to do to try and eliminate this happening into the future.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a real need for, as a community, for more social workers, for more people to enter professions like social work, social care. We need a greater workforce in that area, all the therapeutic services. The money is there. It's actually more about putting the structures in. And very importantly, it's about interagency engagement. So the Child and Family Agency, TUSLA, needs the support of the HSE, Disability and Mental Health Services. We also need the guards and others involved. So it really is about joining the dots. And as you say, we do need to engage with this now, because unfortunately for these children, it just creates a harder life journey for them when they've experienced difficult care placements.
Yeah, and unless the structures and supports are in there, the struggle to recruit people to foster is going to continue as well. And
exactly.
it's a cycle that needs to be broken. And as I say, there's lots of people with concerns about children into the future. Everyone needs to worry about what's happening right now as well, and say, right, what can we do, or who can we contact to support these children, the people working with them. Thank you so much for your time, Dr. Maria Corbett, who's Chief Executive of the Child Law Project. 086 60 25,000 is the WhatsApp and text number there, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. Thanks, by the way, to all of you who are messaging in, texting in, and we'll get to them, of course, as this morning wears on. But we do want to and have to take a break now for the news, and that's coming up just around the corner.
Usually a radio ad is recorded in a recording studio. Today I'm phoning this one in on my run, but I didn't want to carry my phone. So for the first time I'm calling for my smartwatch, because only Vodafone's one number lets me share my mobile plan and number with my smartwatch, so I can stay connected everywhere, even without a phone.
This is one number, only with Vodafone.
Available to customers on a 12 or 24-month Red Unlimited plan. Eligibility, limitations and terms apply. See vodafone.ie/terms.
Bingo every Monday night at the Halfway House Burnfoot. Doors open 7:30 with ice down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. Snowball is now €1,100 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo tonight at 8:30.
Entries are now being taken for the Clonmany Agricultural Show. Competitions in sheep, cattle, pony and horse, poultry, home industry, sheep shearing and show jumping. Entries close the 22nd of July. You can enter online at clonmanyshow.com or by entry form to the Secretary. Email clonmanyagrishow@gmail.com. The two-day Clonmany Agricultural Show, the 8th and 9th of August. Packed full of events for all the family.
Want to live a more sustainable lifestyle, but not too sure how to start? Join me, Donna Marie Doherty, every Tuesday at 12:30 for It's Ours to Protect to learn all the tips and tricks. Ours to Protect is funded by Commission Naman with a television licence fee and is a partnership between Highland Radio and the Independent Broadcasters of Ireland. Check out ourstoprotect.ie for more info.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, it is 11 o'clock. It's time for a news update, and it's over to Donna Marie Doherty.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A meeting is underway between Donegal's 5 TDs and members of Donegal County Council at County House Lifford. It is to discuss the national policy which restricts access on the N56. Cahirlock of Glenties Municipal District Council Michael McClafferty says young people are emigrating from West Donegal because they can't get permission to build close to home. 2 men killed in a crash in the Sligo rally yesterday have been named as Jean McDonald and Dara Maguire. The pair had been taking part at the 6th stage of the rally when their car hit a wall. Investigations by Gardaí and Motorsport Ireland are ongoing this afternoon. An assault reported yesterday in Claudy is being treated as a sectarian-related hate crime. PSNI in Derry are appealing for information after a man in his 30s was assaulted by a group of men at around 10:45 last night in the Balnarate Road area. They made away in a silver Leon car. The victim was shouted at, the language of which was abusive and sectarian in nature. He sustained minor injuries. Climate change exacerbates normal weather conditions. That's according to climatologist and Professor Emeritus of Geography at Maynooth University, John Sweeney. Countries in southern Europe have been warned to expect the heatwave to become even more intense this week after temperatures hit 39 degrees Celsius in places. Wildfires in La Palma and the Canary Islands have forced thousands of people to be evacuated. 3 Donegal-based not-for-profit projects have been awarded €20,000 by the Ireland Fund's Heart of the Community Fund. The recipients are Spree Agus Sport Family Centre, Lar Inid Aquini Nahdura and Liquid Therapy. It's from a national total of 930,000. And finally, Gaeltacht waiting lists are growing because of a surge in interest in those who want to speak Irish. Many students left without spaces this year, with most courses from September to Christmas fully booked. Ma and T and Fur and T have left the system after COVID-19, with even more due to retire. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back again with more news updates at 12 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Have you started typing out when you're back on the radio again? Does that actually say 12 o'clock on the sheet of paper?
It does.
That is very efficient.
It does. I kept saying good afternoon at 11 o'clock.
Okay, well, listen, you've adapted. Liz, thank you very much indeed. All right, that's Donna Marie Doherty. She mentioned back with you at... Are you just going to have a chat? I'm still on the radio here. You said 2 years just talking away there. Sorry, Greg. I'm only joking. We'll be back shortly.
The Bear. New season streaming soon exclusively on Disney Plus.
Opening a restaurant.
The award-winning kitchen drama is back.
We need like a reset. I'm trying to start from a place of positivity.
It's out of the frying pan and into the fire.
Gotta control the zone. Don't freak out and go calling for mom.
Season 2 is about to be served.
Clock is ticking.
How's that not making you insane? Yeah, chef. I don't mind it.
The Bear. New season streaming soon exclusively on Disney Plus. 18 plus subscription required. T's and C's apply.
All right. Wishing Aisling McGeever a very happy birthday from Mary C. Hope you have a lovely day and are spoiled loads by you-know-who. Don't know who that could be. Maybe me. If all Aisling's family would send a text, the internet would crash because there's so many of them as well, you know, Greg. Anyway, I hope Aisling has a great day and that she enjoys her big birthday. Okay. Thanks very much indeed for that. Okay. Brendan Devaney's joining me now on Zoom. And the reason I know that is because he didn't walk into the studio and logged in on Zoom. That's the only way I know what you're doing, Brendan. You're very hard to work out, man.
Yeah, hard to keep tracks on me, Greg. But
you
listen,
like the surprise.
It's great to see you. Brighten up my Monday, my man. I'm a slow starter there generally, so thanks.
Well, you're looking fresh on it. The Donegal ladies lost to Dublin in the All-Ireland quarterfinals, and you've got Maxi Curran on the show, but your take on it. Mine, as the armchair fan, they just not let Dublin away. Dublin just got away a wee bit early in that game, and it was just really hard to claw back. They're too good a team maybe to give a head start. I'm not saying anyone knowingly did, but watching the game, that's a little bit how it felt for me.
Yeah, very well set up, Greg. Tactically, whenever we come inside there 45, it's at least two players coming at our attacking player, maybe three at times. And when they broke, then the pace that they broke with serious athleticism, Greg, and I suppose that's a team, Greg, they've been in 8 of the 9 last All-Ireland finals. Like, it's a team every year that's the favourites thereabouts. So they're mad to get their crown back after Meath had it the last couple of seasons. So, yeah, listen, it's been an interesting season, Greg, I suppose, after the relegation, and we were, I suppose, unearthed and blooded a lot of young talent through that league. It was a really tough league, a lot of hammerings given out, Greg, and we came into the championship then and pulled it together. We got numbers back, one Ulster, which was phenomenal, and I suppose, as Maxie said, after last year there was no silverware in the cabinet, but one Ulster this year beat Meath, of course, All-Ireland champion. So there was a bit of hope in there, Greg, that we maybe could pull off a performance against Dublin, particularly at home. But listen, as you said, that was an unbelievably well drilled and sleek outfit. As good a side, as good a performance as I've seen in a long time.
Lots of positives then to take from the season, the lows and the highs, and I suppose know what works, what doesn't work, where the future lies, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, there's a lovely chat that's up on the site, highlandradio.com there. I talked to Emer Gallagher after the game as well. And, she was out there and, so generous just with her time and all the wee kids coming up getting autographs and pictures. Even after a defeat like that, so gracious of her out in that pitch. She was the last one out there. She spoke to me at the end and just spoke very well about the future of Donegal and the amount of young girls that have had serious experience this year. And there always has to be a bit of a rebuild and a change. Greg, when you have a team like Donegal's, particularly under Maxie the last few years, they've been knocking on the door continuously. There's obviously going to have to be a big turnaround at some stage, and that's kind of happening at the minute. But she was very positive in terms of the future.
How important is game time? When you're an emerging talent or have a bright future, how important is, some people say blooding players or, all the terminology. How quickly do you learn from those big match day experiences, and how does it benefit you in your career then going forward, Brendan?
Yeah, I suppose you have a couple of things, Greg. You've individually, and then you have as a team. If you're a team that's set and it's on the way up, the experiences of playing in big games or defeats or wins, whatever, they all stand you as a team. Then individually, if you're coming into a team like Donegal this year, which is in a bit of transition, it can be difficult because you're more just finding out about yourself in terms of being a player. But so, listen, no matter what, if you come up against like a team like Dublin yesterday, even though it seems very harsh, there's a serious amount of learning in that in terms of if you want to get to the pitch of it, if you want to win All-Ireland, there's where you got to go. So if I was those players yesterday, I'd be looking at those Dublin players, finding out what they're doing and what's going on with them to make them so successful. So I think it's individually and then it's collectively. But certainly, no matter what, Greg, unless you're some kind of unbelievably talented player coming in, you do have to learn. And there is always hardships in there where you get a few lessons. And then over time, that experience stands to you. And you see it right across the game there. You have an odd player come in that's just unbelievably gifted. But by and large, most players have to kind of do a bit of time before they find their feet in the county game.
Yeah, well, Ulster's involvement in the men's game's over for another year. Derry, it was a very frustrating game. In it for so long, leading at times, and then just it felt like it all went to bits then. I would say the Derry team, Derry fans, very sore this morning, Brendan.
Yeah, very sore. Listen, it was an unbelievable weekend. Listen, everybody just completely written off Monaghan and Derry in terms of having a chance. Yet, with 60 minutes gone, coming into the home stretch, Monaghan were level with Dublin. Derry were a point up or whatever, and looking good. I suppose Derry maybe looking better than Monaghan were in the end. I think Derry will come away with a lot of what ifs. I think Monaghan give it their all. They were just coming up against a Dublin team, particularly when the likes of McCarthy and Fenton got the grips with in midfield. Their subs come on. We always knew that we didn't even expect Monaghan to be that close at that point. So it was a huge effort from them, whereas Derry kind of had Kerry on the rack, just that second half. 111 in the first half, Greg, they only had 4 in the second half. You would never expected that. That was a phenomenal bit of scoring from them. Of course, completely changed the narrative around what we thought were going to happen. Derry went at Kerry at times, and it was brilliant to see. And it's maybe something about Ulster teams. We've been talking about this for years. They go down to Croke Park. That kind of negative tactic doesn't work enough. But Monaghan and Derry really went after Dublin and Kerry at times, which is brilliant to see. And I suppose it's a lesson for Ulster teams that we have the Ulster Championship. It's all ding-dong battles. It's defensive. Nobody wants to give anything away. But when we get to Croke Park, then that doesn't work, and it hampers all the Ulster teams somewhat. And now you're seeing that the teams are learning. You got to have a go at teams, and it was a phenomenal performance from them. And listen, again, Clifford, you just spoke about players when you were on about people that didn't have to come in and maybe get a bedding in. He's just one of them guys that was the difference in. A couple of his points, even though he had 2 or 3 players converging of him, no space, it's just a phenomenal talent. Take him out of it, and Derry are definitely in the All-Ireland final. And listen, a lot of what-ifs for them, Greg. And as you said, sore today, nobody more than Shane McGuigan. They seem to get caught in the end of so many hits. He put in a huge performance as well. But Rogers at midfield, absolutely colossal, I thought as well. And certainly Derry, 2019, Greg, they were playing in Division 4. I mean, it's an absolutely phenomenal turnaround. They're minor champions this year. They could have made the under 20s as well. Only the players were pulled to play with the seniors. Glen are Ulster champions. So Derry football from the bottom tier of GAA has had a phenomenal turnaround.
And is this a peak or a part of an upward progression? It's hard to bounce back from really being so close to a final, and you never know what happens once you get into the final. But I mean, do you build from this, or does this is this the end of that rise? I wonder.
Yeah, but you'd have to say there's progression. You obviously have the situation with the management and Gallagher in there, and it was him that kick-started all this. Now, there's question marks there. Kieran Mina has taken over since, has there been any key change in Derry? We probably didn't see the best of them this year in terms of they came through, won Ulster in that penalty shootout, didn't set the world alight in the group stages. They had a social game against Cork. So that's why we were building in this game, looking at Kerry, thinking if they play like that, they're going to be in trouble. But they completely raised their game. So there definitely is another bar. And the age range of the group isn't bad right around it, Greg. So with that underage talent coming through and club talent as well, I think there's more to come from Derry, which maybe it's not a great thing from our Donegal perspective, but certainly, everything's looking right in the county for them to push on.
A rising tide lifts all boats, so everyone has to up the game. Obviously, everyone then gets outside of the affected counties, gets the glamour final that they wanted, Dublin-Kerry. Off the back of the semi-finals, there's strong positives and weaknesses in both sides. Is that a 50-50 game?
Yeah, definitely, Greg. I mean, you look at last year, the semi-final came down to that famous Sean O'Shea shot. They must have been 60 yards out. And, at that point, the thing that differentiates that, Greg, is the players that Dublin have back, namely, like, say, Jack McCaffrey, Cluxon come back, Mannion, top players. They've now created a situation where they have unbelievable talent on the bench, which maybe they didn't have last year. Con O'Callaghan was injured for that game last year, and still it took that 1 point to Kerry's to outdo them. So it's as if now Dublin and a lot of those players, and maybe even Desi Farrell, it's been one massive push, because I think there could be a load of retirements at the end of this and the end of that brilliant Dublin saga. So they want one more All-Ireland. Listen, Kerry have it within them surely to beat them. If you're looking at that last year, with all those players involved, you'd think Dublin certainly have the stronger squad. I think it'll give them a slight edge going into that final.
Yeah, depth of squad so important in the modern game, isn't it?
Definitely, Greg, definitely. And, it's been interesting, championship. We've changed the format. We've got the provincials now kind of hanging in there. The season's too crushed. It's too squashed in together. Even with those group stage games, with the games that had the pre-quarter final game and then playing the following week, you've seen some very flat performances. And I know the managements of the likes of Tyrone and Mayo weren't complaining about that, but it must have been a factor. So I think maybe the championship needs a complete overhaul. I'll be happy enough with the group stages, Greg. I just don't see how the provincials have gone on. And going back to the start of our conversation, even though we love Ulster and it matters so much to us, I think it's probably hampering us when we get into the All-Ireland series then. So I think the provincials are probably on the way out, Greg, because the other three provinces don't seem to care that much at all.
Yeah, all right, interesting stuff. So Maxi Curran and Brendan Devaney will be in conversation looking back at the Donegal ladies' defeat to Dublin. You have Monaghan's Paul Finlay along with Derry Starr and Donegal coach Paddy Bradley on the show as well to talk about the men's semi-finals. It's all live after 7 p.m. Today. Podcast then later on the highlandradio.com website, and you can listen to the DL debate in association with Sarah's Kitchen at Sister Sarah's, Letterkenny. Brendan, listen, thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to the show later. All right, take care of yourself. That is Brendan Devaney there. Show live just after the 7 o'clock news this evening and available for podcast then for you on our website, highlandradio.com.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Experience comfort like never before at half the price in our massive hotel quality mattress sale now on at Better Value Furnishings Moville. Due to overstocking, we must clear hundreds of mattresses at half price. Get your quality mattress at half price and sleep like a king. Better Value Furnishings, Main Street, Moville. See our Facebook for more details.
Tá mudna in ESB Networks ag gobar lena chintu go bhfuil síl glán letrach in ándún go léir in éidean. Agus mar chud san chlór náisiúnta an méadrú cliste, tá méadid cliste letrachis á sitsálinis agan i de cheantar. A bhuichas is beag billa measta a dhéfatú. Cáir se leat súla chuineal ar an méid letrachis a úsáidin tú ar bhealach níos fearr, agus ba fáil agad ar thorgaí agus seirbhísí cliste. Déanam mit sangó leat rih hitsal de bhéidir. Tá tuile ólis le fáil ag esbnetworks.ie/smart meter.
Hi, I'm Mary.
I'm Daniel.
Siobhan. Guess where I like to shop? Bet it's Aldi. I just like how much I can get for my money.
You can feed the family for great value at Aldi.
And I like the specially selected range.
Like Ireland's first ever Diamond Taste Award winner, specially selected dry-aged Black Angus ribeye steak.
It's quality.
So if you like great value and award-winning Irish steaks, it's got to be Aldi, Ireland's most reputable supermarket.
At Allstate, we provide flexible working options that make work for you. You can choose condensed working or a flexible start or finish time. Choose to work from home or the office whenever you want. Don't miss out on the moments that matter to you. Make work for you. Search Allstate NI Careers today.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at
16 minutes past 11. Now, we had a rare visitor to Donegal recently, and no, it was not the sun. It was a black-winged pratincoal. Chris Ingram spotted the bird, took the picture. He joins us now. Hiya, Chris.
Hello, Greg.
Good to have you on the show. So talk to us about this bird, its origins, and why it would be rare to be seen in these parts.
It's come from the Black Sea area, or Southern Asia. It's only the third one ever seen in Ireland. The previous ones were in 1935 and 1974, so it is a really rare bird.
But Chris, you must have great knowledge to spot its rarity, to realise that it was a fish out of water, so to speak.
Well, there's three types of pratincoal. The collared pratincoal, which incidentally has also been seen at Blanketnock in 2019. There's 4 previous records of that one. And the oriental pratincoal, which has never been seen in Ireland, but there's 1 or 2 records from the UK. And the black-winged pratincoal, which is extremely rare here.
And is this bird that you spotted and identified so rare that people with an interest in birds might even make their way to the area in the hope of spotting it?
We've had people here from all over Ireland.
Wow.
In fact, there's still people here this morning, a man from Waterford and someone from over the border.
Why is it likely to have found its way here? Has it flown off course? Or could this be the beginning of a trend, Chris? Have you chatted amongst yourselves and figured out why it was spotted or found its way to Newtown Cunningham?
Well, it's like you said, it's found itself off course. It's presumably migrating south, maybe, and it's got caught in a winds and it's blown it over here.
And where was it likely to be travelling from and to where?
They're based around the Black Sea and
right.
Southern Asian area, yeah.
And where would it have been migrating to?
Well, they migrate south towards Africa.
Okay, I get you.
In the autumn, yeah.
So it's likely found this spot. Will it recharge its batteries and then continue its onward journey? Is that likely, or will it hang about, or what's the working theory, Chris?
It's difficult to say what will happen to it. It's been here 3 days now, and often these pratincoals only stay 1 or 2 days, so it's likely to move on, but where it goes, it's difficult to say, really.
And it's on its own?
Yeah, it's definitely on its own, yeah. Yeah, we only get pratincoals singly.
And why is that? Do they migrate on their own rather than as part of a flock, or it just so happens that...
It's just one that's come off, it's off course,
Yeah.
So... that's the reason.
It's wondering what's going on. What about its normal food? Can it sustain itself here?
Well, it can. They eat insects mainly. On the wing, they look a bit like a tern in flight. And but this one doesn't seem to be feeding too much, but it's obviously keeping itself fit. So.
And Chris, is this the rarest bird you've spotted?
It certainly is. Yeah. I've seen a few rare birds, also at Blanket Nook here, but this is definitely the rarest I've found. Yeah.
And I mean, just to put it into context again, I know you mentioned the other sightings, 1935 and 1973, on the island of Ireland or specific to the Newtown Cunningham area, Chris?
Yeah. The first one was in, I think it was in Galway area.
Wow, okay.
And the 1974 one was in Antrim. Wow. Around Antrim.
So that's how rare it is. Unbelievable. What a spot. Like it's
very rare.
It's like when you had two things could have happened to you, Chris. You could have spotted this bird or won the lotto. Such were the odds, and it turned out you got to see the bird.
Yeah, I think seeing the bird would beat the lotto, to be honest, yeah.
And Chris, what is the normal wildlife that you would see at the Blanket Nook Wildlife Reserve? What's more common than this rare visitor?
Well, you get lots of, you get hooper swans there. They sometimes stay through the summer. And it's a good site for wading birds. You know, we sometimes get some quite rare wading birds here from America and so on, but not as rare as this one.
Yeah, and when you think of the distance they're travelling and the expanse of the ocean and what have you, for them to probably in desperation find this place to land and feed, it's really quite remarkable, really, when you think about nature, isn't it?
It is, and we're very lucky to have it here.
Because, I mean, the island is a dot. And then, of course, the Blanket Nook Wildlife Reserve is a dot on that dot. You know,
absolutely.
When you talk of the travel. All right, fascinating, Chris. How long do you expect it to hang around for? As you say, it's no one knows. But are you getting any? Are your spider senses tingling at all, Chris?
It's difficult to say. I mean, sometimes these rare birds stay just a few days. Sometimes they'll stay a week or more. So, you know, it's really difficult to predict how long it'll stay.
Yeah, I love the whole idea of people travelling up to the region to get a glimpse of it. I think that's amazing that people have that interest and it's being served by this rare visitor, as I mentioned. It's lovely. I think that's another time of the year as well. Maybe people have a bit more spare time.
Yeah, we've probably had at least 100 people here from all over Ireland.
There you go. Okay, fascinating. Brilliant. Chris, thanks for your insights and well done. It's the pinnacle of your bird watching career, I would imagine, so far at least.
Absolutely.
Great. All right, lovely stuff. Thanks, Chris. That's Chris Ingram there. He found and photographed a black-winged pratincoal at Blanket Nook Wildlife Reserve in Newtown Cunningham on Friday. And as I mentioned, very rare on the island of Ireland to spot this bird. 1935 in Galway, I believe you mentioned, and also in 73, 74 in Antrim. And over 100 people have made their way from different parts of the island to go and see this bird in its unusual habitat by its own reckoning. Okay, there you go. You get it all here on the 9 till noon show. We'll not leave you wanting in anything. Hi, Greg. Just in regard to the dog rule on beaches, we were walking on Kittyhoe Beach on Fanahy yesterday afternoon at about 3 p.m. and also during the week at around 4 p.m. Counted up to 11 dogs either running loose and some on leads, and about 7 on Wednesday. I don't know whose job it is to enforce it, but it has not been enforced on both days. That's the thing. Who's going to enforce it? And there's no public information out there as such. Is there signage up on these beaches? I don't know. I haven't been to any. I can have a look at a little later on. You know, I think people have to be made aware before we talk about slapping people's wrists, don't we? I think it's clear we need proper signage to say, by the way, just to let you know that dogs are not allowed on this beach in this area between these times. I think that's the fairest we could do, especially with visitors who probably get a bit of a shock, don't they, when they can't take the dog onto the beach. They're probably more likely to adhere to signage maybe than locals in the know. Hi, Greg. Listening to your show, I would like to advise people at night, especially in bars tapping. I was caught myself saying tap, didn't go through, tapped again, and I was charged twice. Lucky I had my bank app on my phone and alerted the bartender immediately. Be cautious, young, not so young. Yeah, indeed. That is something I'll be much more aware of going forward. Good morning. I was in Letterkenny on Saturday. Miserable out. The staff in the stores were a ray of sunshine. Could not be more helpful. Much appreciated. Thank you, Kathleen. the importance of good customer services. Well done to all in Letterkenny that engaged with Kathleen. Hi, Greg. Power was off in a town yesterday, and people had to leave the shop without their groceries because they couldn't pay in cash. Are we starting to maybe all realise that cash is, in fact, king? We talk about elderly people and their need for independence, but everything is online, Greg. For example, to get a bus to Letterkenny from Lifford, we now have to book online. Same goes for even going to watch a football match. Older people struggle with this, so I feel for them in relation to self-service tills. Everyone talks about independence, but no training or patience is provided. No wonder elderly people are nervous to know a simple task that was once going to the shop. I think I've used... I'm just going to be completely honest. I think I've used a self-service till once and I had panicked and I had to get help. I don't know where you're supposed to put the shopping down. I hold on to the shopping and then it says there's something that's not present. I don't find it really clear where I'm supposed to put the stuff down then. I really don't use them because do you put the shopping on the left in the bag and then do you put the bag on the right and then put the stuff into the bag? I don't know how it works. I simply don't, so I don't engage, and I'm too proud to ask anyone. And to be honest, though, it's probably a me problem because I only figured out how to use the coffee machines about 2 years ago. I was afraid of coffee going everywhere, and now I'm a big boy. I can use one of those coffee machines, but the self-service tills, I get a fear of them. And I'm really pretty good on stuff like that there. You want your house all smart, speakers, lights, I'm your man, I'll wire it for you as well. But come to a self-service till and I panic and I disengage and it starts beeping, an item not present. I'm like, well, there it is, it's in my hand. Oh, it's not present on the wee shelf. All right, it's pure panic stations. Kevin from Dunlow, well done to a Donegal ladies team who kept up with the Dublin team, but as your man, as you can see, the highly resourced was brought to the fore. It's not often they play away from home, maybe because it's the fellas are always in Croker. Well, there'll be some retiring. We'll have to rely on the younger talent like Roisin Rogers, and there are any more McLaughlin's coming up. Niamh is heading down under. That's according to Kevin there. Thank you for that. All right, okay. Let us take a break. We're going to be talking about a new book, Everything, by Kathleen Chada. It's a memoir. It's the story of a mother's survival. Tragic, heartbreaking and inspirational. We're going to be speaking to the author Kathleen after we take this break. It's going to be a tough conversation, but I hope an important one and useful one. Stay where you are.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Why leave all the magic moments or great scenes you've captured on your phone sitting there or in the cloud when you can have them printed at McGee's Chemist? Using the McGee's app or one of the in-store kiosks, you can upload your photos from your phone, Google Photos, Facebook or Instagram and have them printed instantly within an hour or in by 10 and ready by 5. See mcgees.ie for more details. Hold your memories in your hand with McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny.
Pick up the perfect dinner guest at M&S with 20% off our classics wine range. Maybe a crisp, elegant Pinot Grigio, or a sparkling Prosecco, or perhaps a sumptuous Chianti. With 33 wines in the range, there's a classic wine for every occasion, and you'll only get them with 20% off at your local M&S. Terms and conditions apply. Please drink responsibly.
New this week at Home Store and More. All school bags are all half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price school bags are gone, they're gone. Also, all indoor clothes errors and all outdoor cushions are still all half price. But when all the half price indoor clothes errors and all the half price outdoor cushions are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. New store now open in Frascati Centre, Blackrock, Dublin. Home Store and More. A happy home.
All men's wedding suits packages are now 20% off. Just book your wedding suits before August 31st and get a whopping 20% off. Don't stand still. Evolve. Letterkenny Retail Park. Terms and conditions apply.
Don't miss an incredible night of country music with Derek Ryan at the Highlands Hotel Glanties on Friday, July 28th. Tickets are €20 and available from ticketstop.ie or by phoning the Highlands Hotel reception. That's Derek Ryan at the Highlands Hotel Glanties, Friday, July 28th.
On this week's Monday Focus, we're joined by Kathleen Chada, who wrote a book about her life and the murder of her children by her then husband, Sanjeev. Author of Everything, Kathleen Chada, a memoir. Kathleen, thank you for joining us this morning. It's lovely to see you, lovely to have you on the programme.
Thank you, Greg, and good morning.
And
thank you for having me, indeed.
Your book in front of me here with a beautiful picture on the front. Tell us about your children.
Boys. Yeah, they're my boys.
So, what is the purpose for writing this book, Kathleen?
I suppose there's a few things. It's probably been there for a while. I do a lot of talking, Greg. I'm a talker, and I talk on various things. In relation to both grief and the justice system here in Ireland. And I suppose, in lots of ways, every time I talk, every time I do an interview, there's always a little bit extra, a little bit of something. And in a way, what I wanted to do was just sort of, because I've been asked, why do you talk? Why do you talk out? Why do you advocate? Why? So it was a little bit of that, just to show the background of me. It is also, it's very much about Owen and Rory and about, their mark on this world and the mark that they left behind them, which is important to share as well. And I also wanted something that was tangible, that was, very, I suppose it's a physical piece of work, if you like, for my nieces and nephews and my family, my extended family. They were all very, very young when this happened, and they've grown up with memories, and some of those memories are not even true memories for them, but the memories that we've instilled in them, if you like. And it's something as they grow older and, they meet sort of friends and significant others, etc., that they can say, there you go. That's what it is about. That's what it's all about. That's my Auntie Kathleen, So it was kind of multifaceted, really.
And there's a lot in the book, but at the same time, it's not huge. It covers everything, but it's incredibly accessible. Was that by design? Yeah.
This wasn't a book that you were going to take, that I wanted people to have to get bored with, basically, or that it was going to take, a week or 2 weeks to read. This was something, there's only so much of me that people want to know about, if you like, or that would need to know. So it was important that it was. I remember one of the meetings with the editor, with Liam, and saying, at the final draft, if you like, we could put so much more into it. I could double the size of it. Of course I could. Mm-hmm. But does it add anything to the book? Is it needed? Is it necessary? And I kind of felt no. So it was important to kind of have it something that people will read. And so often I hear they've read it in one sitting, or maybe over 2 nights. And that to me is what I wanted it to be. This wasn't something that needed to go on and on. It's not a self-help book, although I'm hoping that there's nuggets within it where people will pick up and go, yeah, actually, oh yeah, that makes sense now, or maybe that would help me. So, for all of those reasons, it was designed in a way, not consciously to begin with, but I think as it evolved and as I saw that first draft, I kind of went, no, there's really not an awful lot that's going to add to the book, if you like, that's necessary to add to it.
Yeah, I get you. And I suppose you put it out there and it's up to the reader to take from it what they will. That's all you can do, isn't it? And you hope there's, as you say, there's just layer and layer of tragedy in this story, Kathleen. Ultimately, you're robbed of your life with your boys. That is it. Yeah. But what leading up to it, that July in 2013, it's unimaginable what you had to do and how you've survived it. It's astonishing, and I presume the strength comes from your boys.
It does. And, I've always said I come from a very grounded background, and that definitely helped. I've got very practical parents, very practical women in my life, I suppose. And that's me. I am, okay, if there's something that's happened, I can't change it. I can't bring Owen and Rory back. No matter how much I've prayed and willed it and wanted it and wished for it and imagined it, that can't happen. So what now? And I was the same. That's me, if you like. That's how I am. It was the same when I found out that Sanj had embezzled the money. It was like, okay, fix it mode. What do we do now? the hardest part sometimes is actually realizing that you can't fix it. I can't fix what happened. I can't, and accepting that. So there's the rational part of your mind that knows that and that can accept. Okay, you know, they're gone. They're not going to come back. But actually accepting that that's real it takes a lot of time and I suppose a lot for me, a lot of time with my psychologist, just working through that, you know.
You met Sanjeev in whilst working as a nurse in Saudi Arabia. He was born in Northern Ireland. You were going to move to London, but then settled in Carlow. Was there anything about, like, can you describe, and you do in the book, the marriage? Because I'm sure you've reflected on it and saying, well, was there signs? Could I have done something? But what was married life like? Was there anything that could have even suggested the horror that was to come?
Not the horror of what was to come. Absolutely not. I look back on my marriage now, I suppose quite differently. And I have to be careful not to lose the good parts of it, because there were good parts. And it's important for me to remember that, because we were, you know, on the whole, we were a happy family. But there were pockets, I suppose, in there that probably maybe I didn't want to see in regards to Sanj. You know, when I was pregnant, we didn't plan either of the boys. As such, I always say, well, if you're, you know, if you're not planning it, then, you know, take precaution. But anyway, with the boys, he was quite upset when both of them, when I found out I was pregnant in both of them. And yet I would never have doubted his love for the boys when they arrived. You know, he was a very hands-on dad. He was very involved in their lives. So it's a real contradiction, if you like, in regards to him. He was somebody that I would have never, ever seen as aggressive, ever, in any way. And yet I look back on it now and I think, well, there was a passive aggressive side to him, maybe that I didn't see it at the time. And that's the problem with any kind of sort of coercive control or as I see it now. I mean, it's hard because you're looking back with a very different view, if you like, after what he's done. But the person that he was when I first met him, through the relationship, through marriage, through parenthood, was so far from the person that he has become, if you like, or did become on that night.
And it was his intention, because it became clear in a suicide note that it was to kill you and the boys.
Yeah,
I mean, is there any explanation as to his
why? Yes and no. To be honest with you, he'd been found out that he'd embezzled money from our local community centre about 10 days beforehand. And that was now public, if you like. So I think it was maybe the first time something he might have done was suddenly in the public eye. And he knew what this was going to mean. This is my family, my community, where I grew up. And he had done this awful, awful thing. But he...
Sorry, Kathleen, you've muted there. I beg your pardon. No problem. You were about to say he...
There was a reason, if you like.
A twisted logic.
And that's it. The only thing that I can ever come up with is, I suppose, it's shame. You know, and it's such an inadequate reason, if you like, but that's genuinely the only thing that I can come up with is suddenly he was filled with shame for what he had done, and he didn't want the boys to see the real him, if you like, that he didn't want to, because they did have him on a pedestal. They adored him. You know, and suddenly he was going to be coming down off that pedestal.
And what has his explanation been for his actions since? Were you ever able to find that out, or do you want to know? Or?
No, not really. I did in the beginning. I absolutely did. So I agreed to accept letters from him, and he wrote me 3 letters, I think it was. And there was nothing. There was no reason, no explanation. There wasn't, I wouldn't have even said there was really an apology or remorse in those letters. So that was the only sort of direct contact were those 3 letters. And I asked to stop after the 3rd because I just couldn't, it just wasn't I couldn't handle it. It was too much. So there hasn't ever been. He's never given a reason, and I suppose at this point, there's no reason that would ever be enough or good enough. So therefore, I think what it would do to me right now is just completely and utterly wind me up if I felt that he was trying to justify what he did on some level.
You're of the belief he should never see the light of day.
Oh, no. And I, that's one of the things that I fight for is we've had the increase of application for parole from 7 years to 12 years, which is great. I know that at 12 years, and it's 2 years away still, I know he won't get paroled at 12 years. He probably won't get it at 16, 18, maybe at 20 years, 22 years. But, there's every possibility that he will go out into an open prison. And I'm sorry, if he's not behind a locked door, then he's not serving his sentence. And I don't believe, and I'd be quite liberal in my thoughts, generally speaking, but when it comes to this, I don't believe that he should ever see the light of day.
No, nor could you ever feel safe, because we don't know his state of mind, and he has expressed his intention to kill you too. When you say everything in the book, as horrific this person is and what he did, it was, I presume, someone you loved at that time, and a marriage, and your beautiful boys. Is that everything? Is that the everything you reference?
That is everything. And it's because I had my everything, if you like. We had what I would have said quite an idyllic life. Yes, he was a stay-at-home dad. I was the one working, but I had a good job. I enjoyed the job. We were lucky enough to be able to afford to live on one salary, as I saw it. I was luckier than many wives of gamblers, because that I now know is what his addiction was. Our mortgages paid, bills were up to date. So, we had. The boys had the idyllic life of having a parent at home. They were incredibly lucky in that way. I was lucky. It allowed me to do my job with no kind of concern about getting home to creche or school or sickness or any of that. That was all managed. And, so life was good. We had a beautiful home. We were living in my community, if you like, where I'd grown up. The boys were going to school where I'd gone to school. So, that was, and it was everything. And everything was taken.
And I never really. I mean, I know whatever about the pressure of people finding out about the embezzlement of 56,000 euro. I mean, it's.
We'd have managed that.
Just worked through you'd have worked through it in a year or 2 years, and the shame would have gone, and your beautiful family would be still with you two boys I referenced there.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We could have gotten through this. There wasn't, and I remember that night that they were gone. My biggest concern, and this really annoys me about myself almost. I don't beat myself up over it, but my concern was for him. I worried that he was going to do something. I worried about his state of mind. Yeah. I worried that, all that night I kept saying, he'll be okay. The boys, he's got the boys with him. And
I really get that. I think that is such a natural response, because you would never imagine a parent, especially a doting parent as you described him, would ever, whatever about harm to themselves, you would never imagine they would ever do harm to these two young, beautiful young boys. And they were missing for 24 hours, and it was he that told you. I mean, it's again about the layers of this tragedy. It's just really.
Yeah. And it was, I don't even know when he was telling me that those that were on the scene of the crash realized the boys were in the boot of the car at the time. He had. So he crashed the car. Obviously, people came to help and assist, and he asked for somebody's phone and phoned me. He would have known my number, obviously, off by heart. And so he phoned me. I answered because I was sitting with the detective at the time, actually doing a statement. And straight away he told me that there'd been a crash. And my reaction was, "Are you okay? Are the boys okay? What?" And he said, and his words were, "They are dead in the back." And that, even, there's a cruelness about that, if you like. No, I appreciate that wasn't necessarily in his mind at the time. He didn't care. I suppose in my head, he didn't care about me at that point in time. But there was a coldness, and and I remember sitting waiting, because obviously the detective took the phone from me, because I kind of pretty much collapsed at that point. And but I'd come round, and I was sitting there waiting for the detective to come in and tell me that no, absolutely not, that they were fine, they were going to hospital, that they'd be okay, and I was just going to have to get to wherever they were. But at that, I still, and it's still something that I have a very strong memory of that detective having to walk back in the door, because he'd gone out to take the calls and to kind of speak to whoever he needed to speak to. But as he walked back in the door, and literally, he knew as he walked back in the door that my life was over as I knew it. So,
listen, Kathleen, life is tough, and we all have to go through things and bereavement, but your share of that is just far in excess than any person should ever have to bear. And it's astonishing the way you could speak about it, in the hope of, do you hope maybe if people read this book, they might see red flags? Not that would ever lead to such a horrendous outcome as this, but maybe save them some grief or injury in their lives.
And that's it. It's question. Just question. If there's something that you feel is not right, just question and share. That's the other thing. As I said at the beginning, I'm a talker, so I'll talk things out. Shutting me up is the problem for a lot of the time. But it is about share. It's let somebody know. Even if nothing happens, even if nothing ever is there, let somebody know that you've just got this some niggle, if you like. And that might be enough. And it's hard because
you're able to work through this. Exactly. And I mean, in a way, you're able to look at this retrospectively. In the moment, things might not align like you can see looking backwards, but people are in different situations, and like it's every turn. In the natural instinct would be to rid yourself of his surname, but it's your beautiful boy's surname. So you have to make a decision and carry that with you in their memory. It's those little things along the way.
Things. Yeah, a lot of people worried or wondered about that in the very beginning. And, I absolutely, you're right. Owen and Rory were born as Chada. And I can't change that. I don't want to change that. They were proud of that themselves, Owen in particular, of the Indian heritage. And he loved the mix, if you like, of the two, the Irishness of him and the Indianness. So, that's I can't, and I don't want to forget that. I don't want to wipe that out. As I often say, I don't want to get over losing Owen and Rory, but I do. I suppose I have to live. I have to live a life. And it is up to me, if I can, to make something of that, I'm very proud of the fact that the photograph that's on the front of the book is one that a lot of people recognize. They may not remember why, or they may not remember the boys' names, but they recognize, and they'll smile. Yeah. People smile when they see that photograph.
They're too beautiful, happy. Yeah. And it's the brother connection stuff is there as well. I think it's the fact that, it's a beautiful picture. And I hope with everything that you've gone through, and I genuinely hope, and I hope you never have to concern yourself with him being in an open prison or free, because you've had to endure so much. You should never, ever have that as the final insult. And in a way then, further empowering someone that should never have freedom or liberty again. And he should never be empowered to have that over you, because you were able to choose not to take the letters, and you should be able to choose or have a huge influence in never having to worry about if he'll ever follow through in his threat to you, which is exactly what he wrote down. And I think, as I say, I the book is very important, but I also... it's not a huge book. It's very accessible, as you say, and people will hopefully get something from it, and also at the very least be able to remember your beautiful sons with you in that, because that's really important, isn't it, that they're never ever forgotten. And the impact their short lives had on someone like yourself. How do you cope, Kathleen?
I suppose to begin with, I had a really good psychologist. Now, and I do credit him in those early days. I had a friend who got me sort of seeing somebody, and I've got a really good family. And talking, I don't bottle things up. I mean, I describe grief as something physical within my body, and if I don't keep talking it out, then it'll take hold. And I'll ask for help if when things go pear-shaped for me and I'm not in a good place. And I know at this stage, it's very important to me, having had all of the control taken away from me. It's important for me to be in control of my life. And so it's important that I can reach for help and ask for help when I need it. And I'm pretty good at doing that at this stage. So that's a lot of it. And, good friends and family. Don't underestimate what they can do for you. And they keep you going when the chips are down.
Okay. I'm delighted to have been part of helping to talk about and remember your sons again today as well, which is important. And I really appreciate you speaking to us.
Thank you, Greg.
Okay, thank you so very much indeed. God bless. God bless. Bye-bye. That is Kathleen Chada there, a memoir. Her book is called Everything. Kathleen Chada, a memoir, and there's for those of you who are watching, there are her beautiful children pictured on the front of that book. It is available from Umbrella Publishing, and as I say, maybe Kathleen's story, as with the most horrendous of all outcomes, there might be information or advice within it that might benefit people even in not such the most extreme and horrendous of situations, if that makes sense. Okay, I'll get out further details as to where people can get that book, because quite a few inquiries coming in looking for it.
Don't miss the ultimate Lidl Saturday summer clearance sale. Comfy hanging gardens share and 3-burner gas barbecue were $249.99, now $179.99 each. Stay warm with an outdoor gas fire pit was $279.99, now $199.99. While stocks last. Go on, shop without compromise. Go full Lidl today.
Enhance your skills with SafeTech's part-funded training programs. At SafeTech, we provide courses including first aid, roadworks, people moving and handling, confined spaces, electrofusion and machinery training for Ireland and UK sites. Also online programs such as water hygiene, construction supervisors, safety reps and much more. If you have a group for training, SafeTech will go to you. Contact SafeTech today at safetech.ie and take the first step towards upskilling and safety compliance.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Your voice matters and your vote is important. Local authorities are updating the electoral register, and it's your responsibility to ensure that your details are current and correct. Even if you're already registered to vote, now is the time to check and either confirm or update your details by providing your PPSN, EAR code and date of birth. To have your say on shaping Ireland's future, you must be on the electoral register. Checking is easy. Simply go to checktheregister.ie, the easy way to secure your say.
The new Volkswagen ID Buzz. Fully electric, fully connected, full of new ideas. An icon of a new era. The all-electric ID Buzz combines comfort, sustainable mobility and fun wherever you take it. Available now with 0% PCP finance from just $259 per month for July 2023 registration only. Book a test drive today with Connolly's Volkswagen, Letterkenny, or see connolly's.ie. Terms and conditions apply. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland and is subject to lending criteria. Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Visit connolly's.ie for further information.
Now, we have spoke on this programme before about a documentary, still a Michael J. Fox movie, which has received 7 Emmy Award nominations, including one for our next guest, our own Michael Hart from Letterkenny. Good morning and congratulations, Michael. Well done to you.
Hey, Greg. How's it going?
Good, good. What was it like working on this documentary?
It was something else, I have to say. We went to Los Angeles to work on it. Me and my family came with me as well, and we got to hang out with Michael J. Fox and tell his story. So it was as good as it could be. And you know what, he was just an amazing character to work with. And the film, I think, is a testament to who he is as a person. And as much as the Emmy nominations are really nice, actually, the journey was more important to us than the result in the end.
Yeah, and with that comes great responsibility, Michael, because you're telling a very important personal story, and you have all of the source material, but you have to output it to do justice to the subject matter, so to speak. So, not a role I would likely take on.
No, but you know what? It's true that it's my job to do that, and I've worked on a lot of things over the last 15 years, but this was the one I was most nervous about. And I kind of grew up watching a lot of his movies and stuff, and so he was a bit of an idol to me growing up. And I remember I used to rent Back to the Future from, I think it was Midnight Oil in Letterkenny years ago when I grew up, and I used to get in trouble. I used to get in real trouble for leaving the videos back late, and so that was my childhood. So then to be in a situation where I had to watch those films again for a documentary was a lot of fun. But you're right, it was so much responsibility. And the truth is, I don't think you could ever do his story justice. We could get as far as we could get, but it's an incredible story, and he's an incredible person. And luckily we kind of did the best we did, but we had great support too. Apple were brilliant, and the director Davis Guggenheim deserves a huge amount of credit. He's an incredible documentarian, one of the best that's ever been in America. So it wasn't all on me. So if it had failed, there would have been fingers pointing left, right and centre, but thankfully it didn't.
Yeah, and I suppose marrying footage with Michael J. Fox and the archive as well, again, it's another layer of complexity, yeah. I'd imagine.
It was, and we hadn't really seen it before. We looked at a couple of different movies in the same vein, but we always knew when we were making this from the start, and Davis very much, as I said, the director was always, we have to try something different to get this right. It's just not going to be enough to do the standard, sit back and let the story do the talking on its own, and we had to impose ourselves on it. So when we figured out, as they call, the grammar of the film and how we were going to do it, that to me was more scary than the actual working with Michael, because we were trying something that nobody really done before to the extent we did it. And so if that failed, that's on me. That is definitely on me, because it's a storytelling device, and it's on Davis as well. We went to Sundance with it, and I remember the night before we premiered at Sundance, where I'm sitting in the movie theatre with Michael J. Fox and Davis thinking, I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it's a very funny film. There's a lot of humour in it. And the good thing about doing films with humour is that it's really easy to gauge the audience, because they'll just start to laugh. And if you don't get that first laugh, you're out. And so I remember at Sundance, the first minute, there's a joke in the first 2 minutes. And I said to Davis, we don't get this laugh, we're dead. And when the joke happened, the place erupted with laughter. And we thought, okay, this is paid off.
Well, Michael, congratulations on your nomination. I would love, I'd love an opportunity to have a longer chat with you in the future, if that's okay. But thank you so much. We just wanted to recognise the remarkable achievement. Thank you so much, Michael Hart, there from Letterkenny. Now, some sad news to finish with. The death has taken place this morning at his home in Burnfoot of Danny Sharkey. As you would know, a former presenter here at Highland Radio, and many of you would have listened to his weekend shows here on the station. He was predeceased by his wife, Moya, and daughter, Dr. Moira. Our thoughts and prayers are with his sons, Patrick, John, Donal, and wider family circle. Funeral arrangements are to be confirmed. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 9.